Hey, welcome to the 453rd episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big, awesome supporter. You can be an awesome supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. We're due for an off-of-mind random topic. I haven't thought about one, so I don't know if I'll do that this week. Maybe the following, but probably soon, because I want to try to do one a month. I've been doing a lot of DC Silver Age comics. A lot of them are weird and wacky. The last one was kind of wacky. It was a wacky cover, but it was actually an important thing because we find out in this comic from 1964 that Lois Lane actually pretty much hated Superman in the beginning. She thought he was like big and egotistical show-off and just wanted nothing to do with them. But then certain things happen and she ended up falling in love with him. So it's like, this week, I might continue, do another flashback from that same issue because I kind of ran out of time last time. So there could be a secret about this. Who is Superman's childhood? What was it? Something like that. Childhood sweetheart. It wasn't Lana Lang. There could be someone else that we might not. That maybe not even Lana knew about. So you have to tune in for that one. If you cannot commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a weird, not really weird episode. It wasn't quite what I expected. There was no real movie that came out this week. I think there's Animal Farm, which I meant to watch this trailer because I feel like I've been talking about this for the last 2 weeks at least. And, I'm looking what's coming out, because I try to plan the show and everything. And I was like, there's Animal, what's it called now? Animal Farm? That's it. I totally blanked on it. From what I understand, the book is a little political. Isn't it about communism maybe, or just something? But it's farm animals and the hierarchy and just different things. So it's not a kid's movie. And I believe it's CG because I saw something. I didn't watch any, but I think Andy Serkis is involved. And what's her name? Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, I think she's in it. But if it's a CG animals, that makes me feel like it's a kid's movie. But I don't think, would they do? I should have watched the trailer, but I'm not going to pause to do that. I didn't see that. So that's just for my own personal, I need to figure that out. And then there's Devil Wears Prada 2. I have not seen the first one. I'm curious, but I didn't. And there's something that kind of makes me, I should look this up because I wasn't planning on talking about it, but I did see something, maybe if I can find it quickly, about sort of Devil Wears Prada. Something that kind of bothered me a little bit. So what is the movie feature? Because, we're going to have Monarch. We got the penultimate episode of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Penultimate episode of Daredevil, Born Again. Star Wars, Darth Maul, Shadow Lord. I made an executive decision because I can. So, they've been dropping 2 episodes per week. Great, fine, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. And because the episodes are 20-something minutes, 23 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever, that's not that difficult, but I don't know what happened this week. I should have had extra time. I still had trouble keeping up, and so then I'm literally finishing the Darth Maul because I don't always necessarily watch in order, and I whatever. So as I'm watching it, I make it through the first episode, and I'm about halfway through the second one, through 108, but then I was just man, I still need to read some comics. I still need to figure out what news I'm gonna talk about and everything. So I was maybe I just do one episode of Darth Maul or of Maul this week. part of me, not that I'm kind of being lazy or anything, but I am kind of trying to stretch it out. So it gives me a little bit of buffer. Maybe next week I'll talk about 2 and then just be like one episode behind, because right now there's only 10 episodes. So if I did 107 and 108, the next week would be 109 and 110, and then that's it. But this way I can at least extend it an extra week. And the reason I'm curious, or I'm interested in doing that, is there might be a bit of a lull. And this is something which if you have any thoughts on this, I would really appreciate this, because next week's episode 454, we will be discussing the final episode of Monarch and Daredevil, and almost the final episode of Darth Maul. So it's like, after that, what the heck am I going to talk about? There's like no shows to talk about. And I don't know, because there's still The Boys, but I think episode 5 is out now, and I haven't watched any episodes from this season. So I don't know if we're looking at 2 weeks, because not next week's episode, so it'll be 453, 450. So episode 455, I don't know at that point, do I start talking about The Boys? Because to me, I don't know. I feel like it's so far after the fact. People probably watch, but I don't know if you want to hear about my thoughts or anything, or whatever. So I don't know. And then I'm still curious about that Stranger Things spin-off show. I kind of want to watch that, and I think it is getting a second season. So I was thinking, maybe I do that. I don't know. And I don't think there's anything up until, what was it? There's something else coming out, I think, but I think it might be the end of May. Why am I totally blanking on that? So I don't know what I'm going to cover, because you can't just have a movie feature. Although, I have thought about that. It's like, I don't know if people really care about the week-to-week TV. Because, again, talking about numbers, because the episodes, the numbers, the download numbers, whatever, aren't consistent. That tells me that not everyone is listening week to week. Now, it's possible maybe, I'm kind of, just like, I know what it's like. Maybe I can't listen this week. I'll catch up next week, or I'll double up next week, or I don't know. Because I do, looking at the numbers, I do get reports every once in a while, and it's like, this is, people have listened to this episode. And I'm like, wow, that's from like 3 months ago, and all of a sudden it's getting all these hits. It's like, okay. So I don't know we'll have to figure that out. I have to figure that out. But any thoughts? That would be great. So what is the movie feature? I still haven't talked about it. So the movie feature is Speed Racer. And it's like, wait, what? There's no Speed Racer movie that came out. There's one that came out a while ago. Yes. We're talking about 2008's Speed Racer, directed by the Wachowskis. I've mentioned it before. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I love Speed Racer. And I hope you at least really like Speed Racer. Because I could go on and on about this movie. And I know I've done a secret podcast episode about this. It was a while ago. I don't remember what it was, what number. And I debated. I was like, maybe I should listen to see what I said, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have time to do that, right? I can't even watch a 20-some minute Star Wars episode, and I'm going to listen to myself ramble on. I'm listening to it once for me is enough. But I appreciate you wanting to listen. The thing is, there was nothing that came out. I discovered because they're re-releasing. Speed Racer was re-released in theater. I was like, great. I don't want to go in the city. I don't want to drive to see that. So I was like, what am I going to do? And then I saw, I was like, oh wait, it's playing locally. Awesome, great. But then I was like, wait, is this the 4K remaster or not? And I still don't know because I thought it wasn't. But then I saw something as like the IMAX. It wasn't IMAX. Because I talk about the one local theater is doing an IMAX screen. And I think it's just going to be IMAX Junior because it's not going to be as big as the Metreon in San Francisco. So I watched it, and I love that movie. So why I shouldn't talk about it. I could start going on now and just yeah. So we have that. But what I do, what I discover every once in a while because I always feel like I'm the only one that likes Speed Racer. And I'm not trying to say that like in a snobby or like a ownership or anything like that. But, my experience of Speed Racer was in the suburbs of Chicago. There was this channel, if you remember, there's this channel, it was 44. And, this is like not cable. This is like UHF. There's this weird channel that I'm pretty sure it was channel 44 now. So 44, actually, then it turned into like a Spanish channel. Because there's a couple channels, but I think, or was it like 60 or 66? I think it was 44. But when it first started, they would show all this like weird, random, like syndicated stuff, I guess. I don't know. Because then I would see Spectre Man. There was also on there, not Ultraman, Spectre Man. I think Spectre Man was like the lesser of the two. I always liked Spectre Man because that's what I watched. My brother was more of an Ultraman. But I just remember I used to watch Spectre Man all the time. I don't remember the first time, but there's this big nostalgia thing because my brother and I, we would watch Speed Racer, and it was just amazing. And probably because, while the Hanna-Barbera cartoons were great and everything, great animations, if you look at it, they reuse a lot of stuff, the backgrounds and everything like that. But if you compare Western animation and, with anime, they're two different things. And the Speed Racer, oh man, it's so good. And then just the car and, the Mach 5, everything you can do. And it's just something different. So that's a huge part. But yeah, I shouldn't go on about now because we'll save this for later. So that's going to be the movie feature. And mainly what I guess I can talk about is go on about why I love the movie so much. But also, does it hold up? Because it has been a few years. Do I still love it as much as, when I first saw it or the last time I saw it? How did it look? And then I will also say, there were other people in the theater, which I liked. And that's what I was getting at too, is, every once in a while, someone else like, yeah, I love Speed Racers. It looks so great. So it always makes me happy when I hear other people. And again, I don't want like the badge that I'm the only one that likes the movie. I want people to like it. And I'm still just so bummed that we never got a sequel. But we'll talk more about that later. We should probably get into the news. I guess the first thing we'll talk about is Meryl Streep. Here we go again. I saw the Hollywood Reporter report on this. Meryl Streep says Marvel has made movie-going, quote-unquote, so boring. And I don't understand when people have to state their opinion like this. Yes, they are entitled to their opinion, but it's just ridiculous because when she says that, it's alienating me. And okay, Meryl Streep is an amazing actor, but I would argue some of the movies that she's done might be a little boring. They're well made, they're artsy or whatever, maybe they're compelling. But, sometimes I want the big action and whatever. So we have that. So here's the thing is what she said. I feel like you get a realistic view. I think we tend to Marvelize the movies now. We get the villains. We got the good guys. It's so boring. And it's like, as much as I love Marvel movies or whatever, Marvel did not invent good guy versus bad guy. So what is she talking about? We've had that forever. What's really interesting about life is that some of the heroes are flawed and some of the villains are human and interesting and have their own strengths. And that's what I like about this movie. It's messier. I'm assuming she's talking about Devil Wears Prada too. But heroes being flawed, off the top of my mind, Bucky Barnes, he's technically a hero. He's as flawed as they come. He was brainwashed and everything. You could even, so many things. Like Tony Stark was a flawed hero. He dealt with stuff. He made weapons. He was an alcoholic. It's like, what are you talking about? And the villains, we've had some and I'm not saying all of them are. There's been some that you could argue that are whatever, but it's just it's crazy. And then I'm not going to go through the comments or whatever, but one person is like, how many Marvel movies has she actually watched? And that's the thing. You got someone like Martin Scorsese, who's the same thing. He'll criticize the Marvel movies and all that, but how many has he watched? I always say like one of my favorite Marvel movies is Winter Soldier, and to me that felt, and I think this is like how the Russos wanted. It was more kind of like a '70s like action film, or like like not necessarily like a police drama or whatever, but they're not necessarily the same. And you compare to different things, they're different. You got your Guardians of the Galaxy space movie, that's not a superhero movie, whatever, it's not. And then you have like Ant-Man, that's there's more comedy in there, and I don't know. You got Black Panther, that's more. I don't want to necessarily say like politics, but there kind of is some politics there. So I don't understand when people have to like publicly state that they do or do not like something. It's like, did someone ask you about that? And to me, it also sounds like they're so incredibly jealous. It's like, a lot of these movies, maybe not so much lately because things are not as huge as they used to. I think people are not going to movies as much. I mean, but some of these movies are making billions of dollars, or millions upon millions of dollars. And you look at the movies that the respected filmmakers make, or even if you look at like the box office of movies that get nominated and tend to win Oscars, they're not making millions of dollars necessarily. So I don't understand it. You're calling them boring. Fine, it doesn't have to be for you, but the fact that these movies make hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes make $1 billion, people are enjoying it. People are going to see that. So that means what people like, boring stuff? No, that is what they want. Yeah, we could talk about Super Mario Galaxy. I did not love that movie. And I think, if I remember, I don't think the critics necessarily loved it, but the audience score was really high. And it's been making a lot of money because people want to see that. And that's great. That's what matters. It doesn't matter if I loved it or not. I mean, for me as a Super Mario Brothers fan, it kind of does personally. But no, that's the point is people are going to see it, and you don't make that much money by people blindly going. That's not all from one weekend. So people are going to see it, and they're hearing, they're seeing the reviews, they're hearing what people are saying, and then they're going to see it. And I'm sure some people are going to see it a second time. So it's just, I don't know. I don't understand the whole negative culture, where so many people just want to go and complain and criticize. And it's like, do you enjoy doing that? I don't know. And if so, that's kind of sad that, you just want to tear things down. So we have that. Then we have another person who's not happy, and this one I kind of have an opinion. I don't have all the information, but it kind of seems, we can kind of assume what we know. So I don't know if I talked about it, but Disney laid off like thousands of employees, and there was a lot of those people laid off were like visual artists. And Andy Park, who was like the director of visual development, he was laid off. He fired, let go, whatever you want to call it. Not necessarily fired, but he doesn't have a job anymore. And he's the one that kind of came up with like the look of the MCU. Yes, he's taking existing characters, decades and decades of comic book. Captain America, not Spider-Man, but Captain America, Iron Man, and all these characters. But he kind of like set the vibe for the MCU, because if you obviously you're familiar with the character, there's tweaks made here and there. So he is largely responsible for that, for what they look and everything. And he was let go, and it's unfortunate. And the reason I bring this up now, because of Evangeline Lilly, she posted like on her Instagram story, she basically went off like on Disney. It's kind of like a how dare you, you're doing all this stuff, the people who basically brought life to all of this, and you're turning your back on them. But where a lot of the people are siding with, and again, this is horrible. No one should lose their job. Especially if they're doing an awesome job at that. But where I guess the fear is, and the hate and the negativity is, did these people lose their job in favor of AI? Like, is Disney like, we're going to start doing more AI stuff, so we don't need to pay artists, visual artists, whatever, to do this, because we can just do whatever. I don't know if that's a fact. Why did these people lose their jobs? The economy is in the tank. Things are horrible now. I mean, I think about gas prices. You look at grocery prices. Things are expensive for whatever reason, various reasons, specific reasons. So when you look at these big corporations, yes, they make a lot of money, but they also spend a lot of money. Every time you look at these movies that are being made, if a movie has like a $150 million budget, they're putting out $150 million. Not only are they putting out $150 million, they are also putting out, millions of dollars to promote the movie and everything that goes along with that. So that's why they say that a movie needs to make 3 times its budget in order to be profitable. So they're putting out a lot of money, but they are reaping the rewards or whatever. So they're making it, and their business, their goal is to make money. The unfortunate thing is they don't spread the wealth correctly, proportionally, or whatever. So a lot of people that are doing the hard work, they don't get the money or whatever, and a lot of times it's these high executives that get paid a lot. But that's true for like pretty much any industry. I think about, when I was, working for CBS, working, for Comic Vine, GameSpot, where I look at, how much I was making or others making. I was making a good amount because I was able to negotiate that when Comic Vine was bought out and when I came over and whatever, so forth like that. And, I'm sure they didn't necessarily like that in the long term. But as even, whatever I was making, there are people that were making way more than I was. And sometimes you look at it, I worked my ass off for Comic Vine and GameSpot. I mean, I put in a lot of hours, and I always felt like I was a doctor, like I was always on call, always like, what is happening with the news? And if I couldn't post about it, I'm like, okay, I'm emailing or texting, like, okay, can someone post this? Because this is huge. I just wanted to make sure everything was covered and everything. And I'm not saying I was like the best worker ever, or I was the best. What am I trying to say here? I'm sure I could have done other things. I had my strengths, my weaknesses, whatever. So I could have, if I had more skills in other things or other whatever, that could also help out there. But despite everything, as much as I would work, there are those executives, the higher ups that you never even see, that are getting a lot more. And yes, they have the higher stakes, whatever required demands. But it's just like, come on. This is just a typical thing where, the grunts, they carry all the whatever stuff on their back, and they barely get a pat on their back. So my curiosity, and I don't know if this has been stated, I don't know what the reason, if Disney has said, we are cutting all these people because we are going to start using AI. Or is it we need to cut costs because our rent has increased, our overhead has increased and everything like that, and we are losing money? And, I don't know what the answer is. If they are letting all these people go to use AI, then yeah, that is horrific. But if they let these people go because they have to restructure things, that's a different story. It still doesn't make it right, and I'm absolutely not. I'm not trying to support or defend anyone getting laid off. And the other unfortunate thing that I'm sure happens, maybe, but I guess, it depends on your, I'm spending too much time on this, but where you look at someone like Andy Park, who is amazing, and, he's been there for a while, I'm sure, he had a higher salary than, some of the other people, and deservedly so, because, he's done so much. But, I mean, pretty much you're with a company for a long time, your pay's hopefully going to keep increasing. And they might look at it as like, we're paying this one individual all this money, maybe we need to, rethink this, where if we, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but, if we let this person go, we could hire maybe 2 or 3 people in their place. Now, obviously, you're not going to get the same output, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, because obviously, if he's been there for so long, it's not like a, last hired, first fired type of thing. I don't know how they made the decision. Did they just cut the entire departments? Or did they, I don't know. And what I'm curious, and I just haven't looked into this, is what is the specific reason? Did they give a reason? And I feel like a lot of people are, torches and pitchforks because it's the evil. And yes, corporations are pretty much evil. Maybe. I think we can say that. Are they doing this for purely evil purposes, or is there some other reason? And again, I'm not trying to defend or anything, but I don't have all the answers. I think it sucks. I don't want people to lose their jobs unless they suck, but that's not the case here. So she's, for someone like, she was involved with it, and, she talked about how, Andy Park designed her wasp costume and everything like that. So yeah, she's upset because it's someone that, she knows personally, but does she know more about it? I don't know. And it sucks. So we have that. I don't know if we'll ever find anything out. Will we get the truth or not? Going along with Marvel and Disney. So Mandalorian and Grogu, and this is like where the negative reporting comes out. Like I saw one headline, it's like, it's going to do worse than a Han Solo or whatever, Han Solo's story, a Star Wars story. And I really enjoyed that. I should watch that movie again sometime, because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would, but it didn't do well. And I think it didn't do well because of when it was put out, and people, I don't think they gave it a fair chance, because they're like, that's not Harrison Ford or whatever. But what they're the reports are, Mandalorian Grogu is going to be like the worst opening Star Wars movie. They're talking about it making 80 million, like possibly having an 80 million opening, which is great, but it is also Memorial Day weekend, and I guess that's apparently the lowest Star Wars opening. So people are complaining about that. Now, apparently, what Disney is hoping to try to fix that is starting on May the 4th, they are going to be showing like the first 20 minutes in IMAX theaters. So you can get a taste for the movie to see like, oh man, I should go, I want to see this. Okay, hopefully that works, but yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I have my tickets. So, and I'm apparently seeing it in IMAX. IMAX Junior, I don't know. I'll let you know how that was. What about Terminator 2? Terminator 2 is coming back to theaters. And I was like, wait, what? So it's coming back because it's the 35th anniversary. Holy cow. Apparently it's going to be like in some theaters like between like May 22nd to July 5th. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be in theaters that entire time. And I don't know if it's going to depend on the theater, because it's going to depend on how long do they want to keep it. Because obviously if people are going to see it, they're going to keep it there longer. But if they have it and you get like maybe 3 people, 4 people, then they're like, okay, let's send it back type thing. But it's going to be shown or available or whatever in I guess it's a new 4K remaster. There's also 4K 3D. There's also going to be 35 millimeter and 70 millimeter prints. And if you're in the San Francisco area, it's going to be showing at the Vogue Theater. I do not know where the Vogue Theater is. How do I not know that? I don't know if it's new or I'm just don't know. But It looks like May 26th, it'll be at the Vogue starting there. Okay. What about that Resident Evil trailer? So Zach Cregger has a Resident Evil movie coming out. And as I keep mentioning, because it's coming out September 18th. How the heck? Weapons just came out last August. So within a year, he's got another movie. Weapons must have been in the can, for a while. And then must have been working on Resident Evil for a while. It's not like, oh, Weapons is a success. Hey, what do you want to do next, Zach Cregger? You want to do Resident Evil? He must have been working on it before. I don't know. And I'm sure that information is out there. I haven't looked it up. When it comes September, maybe we can talk about that. So we got this trailer. It looks good. I'm excited. I love the Resident Evil franchise, even though I just do not have the time to play those games. And I friggin' hate Resident Evil 7, the last one that I played. Because I was playing it, I switched, was playing it in VR. Oh my God. If it's so stupid. Why the heck would you play Resident Evil with the VR headset? That is the dumbest thing I could have ever done. Oh man, I almost cried. I was just like, I don't want to play this anymore. I just want to go home, and I was home. So we got Resident Evil, and when we heard about this, it's like, at first it's like, cool, Zach Cregger does a lot of cool stuff. This is going to be, it's like, wait, it's not based off of any of the movies or the characters. What? I think I saw this is supposed to take place during like Resident Evil 2. So it's like, okay, so things have been happening for a little bit. But we just have some rando dude. I guess was he like a delivery or something, or carrier? And then he gets thrown into this. And, all right, I just got interrupted. So I forget what I was saying about Resident Evil, right? That's what we're talking about? So I'm super excited. I love the movies, or I love the games, even though I don't have time to play them. But I'm curious to see what this is. It's no secret, I'm not the biggest fan of the original movies. And it wasn't up until like a few years ago that I actually saw the other ones, because I had seen the first one, and I was just like, what? I was like, this... there's a couple elements that they use, but I'm just like, what is going on? This is just kind of weird and everything. But I did a series like on the Secret podcast where I watched all of them and talk about them. So again, if you support me on Patreon, you get access to that. Now, the interesting thing is Zach Cregger said that he has not seen any of those movies. And I appreciate, I respect that. The reason he said that they didn't look like, he saw the trailers. So it's not like he, lived in a bubble or whatever. They had no idea they existed. Like sometimes people say that. I don't agree with that. He said that he hadn't seen the movies. He must have seen the trailers or something like that. And he says that it didn't look like the games. And he apparently feels so strongly about Resident Evil, he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to see that. They could be really great and everything, but he's like, it just doesn't look what I feel like it should. He just said it wasn't for him. So now we get to see what he's doing. Now the other thing is, people like, how come there's no Leon? How come there's no Chris Redfield? Why is this? And he basically, he wanted to put like, he's like, what if like I was in these movies? Joe Schmo, whoever. He didn't want someone that was like going to be super prepared, that is ready for a zombie apocalypse. He wants just like the average person, like, holy crap, there's zombies here. What the heck am I going to do? How am I going to survive? And that's kind of what he's going for. And I like that because, while we've seen, so many different types of zombie movies and we've had similar things where we've seen the bumbling people, or not that they're going to be bumbling in this movie, but I think that's good, where if all of a sudden you have someone that is like ready to take on the world, that's a bit much, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. So we will see. The Hollywood Reporter also mentioned Wonder Man season 2 is in early stages, early development. So I guess it's being written. So we have that to look forward to, but no idea what that's going to entail, what it's going to be. I'm curious about when is it going to take place? Is it going to pick up after, at the end of season 1? Because apparently, I heard some rumblings that this was actually done like a while ago. It might have been like before the writer strike or whatever, or maybe they were working on it or something like that. And some people said that like it almost wasn't going to get completed, or I don't know what it was. The nice thing about that for them is it's not super heavily rooted in like other big events in the Marvel universe. So if they did film it 5 years ago or 2 years ago, it still kind of holds up. So that's nice that they did that. I would like to see some interaction or mention or something, because I think we have the Rogers the Musical. Wasn't there a billboard for that on the lot or something? So I was so surprised by that show. I really enjoyed that. What I probably am not going to enjoy is Gina Carano, Cara Dune. Maybe this is a long shot. Maybe might someday return to Star Wars, and I'm like, why? She was. I think she won wrongful termination. I don't even know, or maybe it was. I don't know if she won the lawsuit or if it was settled. I don't know how that worked. But it's like, dude, you were. There's certain expectations. While she's entitled to her opinion, I don't understand why. And okay, from what little I know, she had an issue with people, and selecting their pronouns. Why do you care? If someone wants to call themselves he or she or they, what does that matter to you? How does that affect you? That will have zero impact on your life. It is not going to change anything. And to make fun of people doing that, and I'm sure I think it wasn't just that. There's some other stuff maybe. I don't know. I don't really care. But you work for, you got someone like Roseanne Barr. She was fired from the show with her name in it for just like stuff that she posted online, and her opinion. You can't do that if you are working for super uptight corporate, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if they're necessarily super uptight, whatever. They have certain rules and regulations, and if you don't like it, then you have two choices. One, don't work for that company, or two, or B, whatever. Make sure your social media is super locked down and private, and you can say whatever you want. But whatever. Apart from all that, Cara Dune character, she was fine. Since she didn't return or whatever, I haven't missed the character or anything like that. Did she really add something? It's like, oh, it's someone else for the Mandalorian to talk to. Cool, but yeah, I don't know. She just seems like she just has this attitude when I've seen her, whatever little moments. Thankfully, I haven't seen a lot. And again, if you are a fan, this is good news for you. And I'm not saying you can't be a fan. I'm not saying that you can't be hoping that she returns. But yeah, there you go. So maybe. I guess she's talked to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. I think they had like a Zoom talk, but that doesn't mean anything's going to happen. So who knows? But yeah, we have that. We also have Lanterns. We have a release date finally. So it looks like that's going to be August 19th, 2026. It always bugs me. I mean, people like don't want to put stuff out during the summer because they're assuming that no one is home. It's like, that's not true. Not everyone goes on vacation, all the time. But then it's like you have these shows happening during the school year. Some of us have to go to school or teach at school. But yeah, so we have that to look forward to. I do not know what to expect from that. I am going to try to remain hopeful, but yeah, I am confused about some things. So we'll see. Oh, here's another negative thing. I should have mentioned this earlier. Daredevil Born Again. So I saw, I forget who, there was some report, one of like the metric, whatever organization things, talking about the numbers of viewerships for Daredevil Born Again, and that the numbers are in a decline. The only reason when I first heard about this, I did see an article today when I was looking up news, but I saw I don't know why I click on these sometimes because they're just so annoying. But like on Facebook, when you got the reels, people you don't follow, people you never hear of. But a lot of times I can click, not interested. Please do not ever show me any reels for it. So I love that they give you that option. And I hope they stick to it, because if someone posts something really stupid that I just do not like, I don't ever want to see or hear from that person again. So there's this person talking about this. I don't know who he is. I don't know how many followers or whatever, viewers, or how many more viewers he might have than It doesn't matter. He's probably like yelling. He's like yelling as he's talking about this stuff. And apart from that, whatever, he's reporting on this stuff. Great. Awesome. That's what we're here for. But because I saw like an article was like almost the same thing what this guy was saying, and they weren't affiliated. So people are I don't know if they're just reporting the same thing, or if they're looking at this as opportunity that we can be negative about this. And this is the stuff that I find annoying. So people are talking about like, oh, the viewers for Daredevil season 2 are down. I don't know if it was like 46%. I don't remember what it was. And they even broke it down to like how many minutes and whatever difference. It's like, okay, there are so many things that are different. For this reel that I saw on Facebook, I'm like, okay, what did the comments say? Because every once in a while, it's like, they say don't read the comments. I read the comments. There were so many people here, which I kind of didn't like. So many people are like, I'm waiting for all the episodes to drop so I can binge it. I'm waiting so I can binge. I'm waiting so I can binge. People are waiting so they can binge. I was like, stop saying that, because I don't want to binge. But that's what all these people were saying, which is surprising, because usually I don't see that many binge supporters at once. There are a lot of them. But that could be another thing where people are waiting. And if they can do that, awesome. Thank you for being patient instead of saying, I want them all at once. Because it's either one or the other. I want to do it week by week. I love the week by week. I love being in suspense for a week, just being able to think about it. I don't really like where it's like, oh, holy crap, what's going on? And then 4 seconds later, it's like, oh, they're okay. They're fine. It was just a scratch. So there is a lot of that. But then another comment that I saw, people were like, not everyone subscribes to all the streaming platforms these days because they are so friggin' expensive. And some people, what they're probably doing, they're taking turns. They're like, okay, I'm going to subscribe to HBO Max. I'm going to watch, okay, what is there for me to watch? I'll watch stuff. Okay, great. See you later, HBO Max. I'll be back. What's next? Oh, Hulu. What do you got? Oh, cool. I've been waiting to see this. Okay, now I can watch this. All right, see you in like 4 months, Hulu. I'll be back. And then you go Netflix or you go whatever. I could see people doing that because the streaming prices are so crazy. Unfortunately, I don't stream and cancel, or I don't subscribe, cancel, I subscribe to them all, which is a lot. I don't even want to think about how much I'm paying on it. But I do that so I can easily watch whatever show if something pops up for this and I don't have to worry, whatever. So there's a lot of different factors that can be playing into this, but they're just like, oh, people aren't watching it. Does that mean it's not as good? Does that mean people are bored of it? It's like, no, that's not the case. There's just, it's got nothing else to talk about, I guess. I have one more thing to talk about. Speaking of Disney Plus, apparently they are going to be trying or thinking or planning to do a Casper the Friendly Ghost, like live action. I'm assuming it's a show. I mean, it could be a movie, a series, but I'm assuming it's going to be a show on Disney Plus. That's what it sounds like. I have like a spot in my heart for Casper the Friendly Ghost. I used to watch those when I was a kid, and it's weird that those cartoons aren't really available. It's hard. A lot of stuff you could see, but yeah. And I haven't seen any of the. How many? Has there been more than? I feel like there's been at least 2 live action movies. I haven't seen those, and what they're talking about here is maybe to make it give it like a dark edge, maybe a little bit kind of like how Wednesday is. That could be interesting. What I think, what is deeply disturbing about Casper the Friendly Ghost is you're talking about a kid who died. Casper is a kid's ghost. And you're watching this show about a dead kid that doesn't get to go to prom, doesn't get to have probably maybe a first kid. He's dead. What happened to him? Does he even know? And why does he look like Richie Rich? Is Richie Rich dead? Is Casper really Richie Rich? Is Casper even his name? Maybe he just doesn't know. Maybe oh, I woke up here, but he woke up or looked at the wrong tomb. I don't know. What I do know is there's way more to talk about. How long did I feel like I talked too much? That is going to be the news for the week. Okay, super long news segment, but that'll make up for it because there's not a lot of comics this week. I feel like this is going to go super fast. At Mad Cave, Gotcha Man, Red Impulse #1 came out. It might have been, was it? No, I don't think it was a one shot. So by Steve Orlando and Ricardo Roblando. This is so cool. When I saw this, and this is the other thing, I feel like with Gotcha Man or Battle of Planets, I feel like I'm in this little bubble because I don't usually run into people like IRL, as they say, that has watched these. I have this affection for this, fascination, whatever. And there was a time I debated. I was like, which old school anime do I like better, Speed Racer or Gotcha Man? While Gotcha Man is very cool and I feel like there's more opportunity for different things than Speed Racer. He's a racer. He's in a car. It's a little limited, like story-wise, what you can do. I got to give it to Speed Racer just because I've seen all the Speed Racer episodes. Yes, there's pretty sure 52. I could be wrong about that, but that's the number in my head. And I have not seen all the Gotcha Man episodes. I probably saw most of the Battle of the Planets episodes, which were heavily edited. But I haven't seen. I have a box set of Gotcha Man, which I need to find time and start picking away at those again. And I'm really curious how the original, the actual, when Berg cast, when his mask is sort of taken off, because it's a totally different thing. And I have to go back. So anyways, we got Red Impulse. Who is Red Impulse? So as I'm reading this, I was like, because I have seen Red Impulse in the episodes that I have watched. I don't even know how many seasons there are. I don't know if this is all the episodes. I got this big Blu-ray box set, which I love. It's one of the best Christmas presents I ever got. I mean, it's amazing. All this Alex Ross art on there. It's just things amazing. I think it's out of print, so I cherish it. So I've seen Red Impulse, and as I was watching this episode, because I don't remember Red Impulse from Battle of the Planets. Maybe I've seen them. I don't know. But if you've watched Gotcha Man or know who Red Impulse is, there is more to the character. There's there's something that Red Impulse hasn't revealed to everyone. That some people may know this, but it's not an overly common thing. And I feel like, I might have to go back and start over. But the episode, I don't know if they said it right away or if they strongly hinted at it. And as I'm reading this comic, I'm like, okay, there's this huge fact about Red Impulse. Is Steve Orlando going to mention it here? And yes, they do. He does. And so I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed that comic. So Mad Cave, thank you so much for the Gotcha Man and Speed Racer comics. I enjoyed them so much. At Image Comics, there was G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. There's 3 S's. Silent Mission, whatever. Firefly. Now this is written and drawn by Jorge Fornes, and I don't know if I don't think I paid attention enough, which I should have. But I don't know if all of them are written and drawn by the artist. Obviously they're drawn by the artist, but I don't know if they're all written by it. And I like that because let's give a lot of times artists aren't given they can't write, and they don't let them do that. But no, they have a lot of say. They have input, and they're creating the visuals, so they are telling a story. Now, where I would think the difference would be is that not everyone can be a writer, because I would think doing the dialogue can be very tricky. I have seen some comics where the dialogue is kind of clunky. It does not feel realistic. It feels like very stiff and kind of awkward. But now when you I think that's a certain talent that to be able to do all that. Now, if you have an artist, they need to be able to, they can tell the story, they can do the layouts and do all that stuff, but they don't have to worry about doing the dialogue and these silent issues because they just need to convey the story. They know what they want to accomplish, start here, end up here, and have these things happen. So they can do all that, and then they don't have to worry about, is this dialogue sound realistic or not? So the only problem that I have is, and this has been with a lot of these, where sometimes it's like, what does this mean? What actually happened here? Am I just a dum-dum where I'm missing something that should be super obvious? I don't know. Because what I will say about this one, because Firefly, he's always been kind of an interesting character, because I feel like there's more to him, than we realize, and I think I don't know what the actual facts are and so forth. So there's a bit to him. There was a bunch of cool moments here where he's crawling through air ducts and sneaking around. So just the way the panel layout was, that was cool. But then what happens at the end is wait, now what? What does this mean? And that is that the end? Is there more? So I don't know about that, but that was interesting. Then we had White Sky #3. So I did not give this 100% of my attention. I did not read everything, because as I'm reading it, I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And I was like, I know I read issue 2. I'm pretty sure I read issue. Yeah, no, I had to have read issue 2, because I really liked the first issue. The second issue was good, but now this third issue, I definitely need to sit down and read this again. Actually, read all this stuff, because I don't know what's going on, and it's at the beginning, it feels like, oh, this is like The Last of Us, but no, it's not, because it's like a father and a daughter or something, whatever. But there's more to the story, and then it's like, wait, is this a ghost? Is this a spirit? What's happening here? So there's definitely more to this, and so I find that interesting. So I want to see finish this off, see what or not finish it off, but continue with it to see what's happening. Over at Marvel, we have Captain America #10. It's like, we just had Captain America last week. So this is Chip Zdarsky, Doom Shadow Part 5. And this is good. Chip Zdarsky, he's an amazing writer. I mean, he tells, a lot of time, obviously you hear me week after week where I'm almost becoming disillusioned with a lot of comics. I'm just, I'm not enjoying them as much as I used to. And, I always question, I still don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's just me, that my tastes are changing, or if it's just that they're just not written well, or maybe it's just not written in a way that is compelling to me. I don't know what the answer is. And it's very concerning for me, because I've been reading comics forever, almost not my entire life, but for a big portion of my time, I've been all about comics. And partially, as I've talked about lots of times, having to read everything so I can talk about it, it makes it feel like work. So it takes some of the fun away. I'm not just reading them for enjoyment. I'm reading them because I have to try to read everything, or as much as I can. And that's why I'm trying to be very selective. Okay, I can't read this, because I'm just not going to enjoy it. I'm just going to be bitter. But Chip Zdarsky, he pretty much everything that he writes, I'm enjoying, and he's got it down. And the interesting thing about it is, he is a funny and wacky guy, or he can be. He's got this great sense of humor from what little I know of him, that the couple times I've talked to him and everything. But he also is like, dang, man, he can get right down to it and just really write a character. He's not just writing jokes and stuff like that. So he's really got Captain America, and I'm enjoying this, because some of the Captain America stuff that we've had fairly recently, whatever, I haven't enjoyed it. And I love Captain America, so I'm digging this. This story does feel like it's dragging on a little bit. That's always my thing, my concern. But there's a lot going on here with just all this Doctor Doom stuff. And, it's on top of it, all the one world under Doom, Emperor Doom, that was too much for me. And it's just still going on, even though Doom's not here. But there's a lot of interesting things where, I do like this. Like, Doom's not here. What happens to Latveria? Who's going to take over? What happens to all the crazy stuff that Doom had? There's potential weapons of mass destruction, and that's where governments and all these different groups are scrambling, trying to get a hold of whatever they can. So there's some interesting stuff. And then we got this last page. I don't know what that means. It's like that someone appears. It's like, wait, what? Who's this? So, yeah, we'll have to see about that. We had Deadly Hands of Kunlun. So see, this is one where you got a lecture Daredevil on the cover, so that should be like a selling point. But I just want Danny Rand Iron Fist, and I don't know what's been happening where he was back. He died. I still don't know how he died. I keep meaning to look up, like, how did he die? Why would they kill him off? And then he's like sort of a ghost or whatever. I don't even understand, and I don't want to understand that. Doom 2099, Rage of Doom. I actually kind of read most of this because I was like, oh, Doom 29. I'm very curious about this, but this was kind of weird and bleak, where it's like Doom kind of screwed things up and kind of killed everyone. So it's like, okay, maybe this isn't our actual Doom, but what's going on here? And you can see Ultron on the cover, so there's some weird stuff happening here. But I don't know, something about I can't get into 2099 books anymore, even though I enjoyed those when I was a kid. Generation X23. This was a little better. I was a little let down with the second issue, and part of the only reason I'm let down is I didn't care for some of these characters at this facility, and especially like the leader guy. He was just a jerk basically. But we've got some interesting things going on here, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's Laura and it's Gabby. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. But I'm actually enjoying this now more than some of the other X-Men books. So there's that. We had Predator Bloodshed #3. I should go back and read this. I'm curious what's the angle here. Like, I don't even know what the premise is. We had Planet She-Hulk #8. I don't know I feel like this is the final issue. I don't know, because it ends at the end. It's like, the end with a question mark. What was weird here, because I haven't read like the last few issues of Planet She-Hulk, because I just all this galactic, cosmic Marvel, it's just hard for me to enjoy, to get into. So like I said, I'm just trying not to read stuff that is going to bring me down, even though I love She-Hulk. This starts off, She-Hulk's on Earth, so I'm like, whoa, I guess I did miss quite a bit. I thought she was still on Sakaar, or whatever. And then we find out, like, wait, what's going on? She doesn't even remember stuff. And then, because someone appears from there, and so I still don't know what's happening. And she might have a new roommate or two. It's like, really? It's like, I don't know. So we'll see. The Punisher, #3. This was weird in the beginning, because in the Punisher, he's starting to take drugs. He's taking lithium because so he was made. His brain was like reprogrammed, and he had to have brain surgery because he had a chip in his head. So he's doing all this stuff, and now he's having these weird after effects and whatever. So he's like just gobbling up all these pills. It's like, what's going on? And then there's a reason for the effects and like what's going on, and there's a solution, and it's like, wait, what? And that's a weird cover. But yeah, the last page, I'm like, how do you continue from here? We had the Ultimates #23. I haven't really been reading the Ultimates, so I don't really know what's going on here. And there's a lot of stuff about Asgard, and it was like weird because we got like these big images, and I didn't really. And it's also hard for me to carry because it's like Ultimates is ending, so it's like, why am I reading this? The Ultimate Universe is apparently supposedly ending, so I don't know. Uncanny X-Men number 27. I started reading this. This is one where I don't care about these new characters, about these kids, but I am kind of curious. Now, they're somehow in the past, in some sort of past. I don't know what this means, because it's like Moira McTaggart's at the Xavier school, and they ended up there. So they're like kind of like in New Mutant costumes. It's like, but this didn't happen. So how you can explain this? Is this like some alternate Earth? And then there's some other stuff with the Grey Malkin Prison Institute. So, yeah, I don't know. Wiccan, Witches Road. I don't even know. Maybe I should be reading that, but I'm not. There was Wolverine, Weapons of Armageddon. So I'm not. Wait, that's written by Chip Zdarsky. See, I should be reading that because I talk about how, yeah, maybe that's good. And then there was Wonder Man number 2, which this is like one of the last comics I read, and so I was like kind of rushing a little bit. I am enjoying it. It's interesting because this is what I like about this is it's not like your typical Marvel comic. It's a little like outside the norm, and I think that's good because it does kind of mix things up, and it's not necessarily it's a little tongue in cheek, but and it does feel like there's some inspiration from the show, and I don't know if that's the case or not because when was this first proposed or anything like that, but I'm enjoying that. I'm digging that. Then at DC did not put out like hardly anything. They had a Swamp Thing 1989 number 1 by Rick. I never know how you say his name. Rick Veitch and Rich Handley. Yeah, I used to really like Swamp Thing, and I read it from occasionally here and there. I wasn't like the biggest fan, but then with Scott Snyder, when New 52, I started reading that, and I really got into it. And Charles Soule, it was really cool. But then I just kind of stopped, and when I saw this, I was just like, I don't know, because I just wasn't feeling it. And I got a lot of respect for the character, and same thing with Zatanna. Oh, this was a number 1. Maybe I should go back and try to read this because I thought this was ongoing. So we had Zatanna. There is a Justice League Intergalactic special. I don't know about that. I didn't even give that a shot. I didn't even look at it. But then there is Batman, Wonder Woman, Truth. I think is yeah. And this was by Jeff Loeb and Jim Chung. And I really like both of them, and they're both super nice people, and that's the other thing. Like I know I've talked about this before, but it's so nice when you have creators that you enjoy their stuff, and then you meet them and they're super cool or nice or whatever like that. Versus the opposite, where if you like someone and you find out like, oh man, they're such a jerk. But I have a lot of respect for the two. Jim Chung. Every time I go to San Diego, I try to steal a little bit of his time and just catch up with him super briefly and everything, and so they're the same thing with Jeff. I saw him, I hadn't seen him in a while, but then I saw him and caught up with him. So this was really good, and I was like, it's like wow, I really like this, and I hope people like this because this is a really good one shot, and I feel like they both just really capture Batman and Wonder Woman. It's this amazing story. I don't know if I'd say amazing, but it's a really good story. And it just really captures like the essence of who they are. I mean, Jim Chung's art is just so good. I love seeing it, whenever he does something. And Jeff just really gets the characters and comes down, does what he needs to do. And at some point, part of me almost feel like oh, this is maybe a little too by the book, but it doesn't matter because he's hitting all the right beats, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't get a lot of because whatever other stuff going on. So I really enjoyed this. So I thought that was great. So you should definitely check that out. And that is it. That was the only stuff at DC. I guess it's the 5th week. So that is it. That is going to be comic books for the week. Hey, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, Season 2, Episode 9, Ends of the Earth. So this is the penultimate episode. It's we're almost done with the season. Things are amping up, and this is. I always find it interesting. It's just like trying to think like what is the big moment? Where are they going to leave off? What are they going to resolve, and what are they going to leave us hanging with? And there's a lot going on, and I don't remember if this has already been renewed for a third season, or if they just play it by ear and just wait. But it could keep going. I mean, there's so much more, and that's what I find interesting about this. They're making some bold decisions and kind of laying a lot out there that they could, a lot of different possibilities, and I'm finding it very fascinating. And even we keep getting these flashbacks, and because when I the first season when I was looking at like the actors in the younger time, I was like, oh, it's kind of a bummer for them because their opportunities are going to be used up pretty soon because we've seen all there is to see, but then it's like, nope, there's more, and it, like Kai, it's like, no, she got total opportunity, and then there's just it's very impressive. So let's start. Titan X is swimming. Oh man, there's so much about this decisions being made, what characters are doing is driving me nuts. It's like, oh, are you serious? So Titan X is swimming after the egg. So we got these people taking it. Godzilla's kind of following, I think. Outpost 18's following them both, and they said they're on a direct course to Skull Island. May comments that you have to give Apex Cybernetics credit because they really know how to dangle what you want in front of you. And Tim's like, except this isn't Apex. It's like they're denying any part in this. And Shaw's like, well, then who is it? And who has resources to pull off something like this? Other than Monarch and Apex, who even knows where the hell Skull Island is? Tim says that he doesn't know, but they are tracking an unauthorized aircraft in the airspace of Skull Island. Kai's like, and you're sure that Kate and Kentaro are on it? And Tim says that they picked up a couple of Triceps men on the beach, so that he's gone, so he doesn't have any opportunities. I doubt we'll get any flashbacks with him. He was obliterated. So the men said that both Kate and Kentaro went with their team, and Shaw's like, yeah, we saw that, but did they leave with them, or were they taken by them? So we see Titan X comes up on this big rock, climbs up, then looks back, roars at Godzilla. Godzilla roars back, and Shaw's like, all right, big boy, time to finish the job. He's watching through binoculars, and then he's like, they're just sitting there. And May's like, I thought Godzilla was ready to take on any Titan that dared to show its face. And Tim's like, well, he is, usually. May's like, is he afraid of Kong? And Shaw's like, Godzilla's not afraid of anything. And Kay's like, what if he did what he needed to do? It's like, you said Godzilla's role is to enforce order among the Titans. Godzilla might have been making sure it went back to where it's supposed to be. It didn't kill it because it didn't need to, which makes a lot of sense. So Titan X climbs off the rock, goes towards the island. Godzilla turns and swims the opposite way. And Shaw's like, well, he knows more about his own kind than we do, so much for my plan. And Tim's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Get Barris and the fleet commander on the line. And it's like, wait, where did Barris go? Wasn't he on? I guess he must have left Outpost 18. So Tim's like, tell them to track Godzilla as far as they can. We're going to hold position here. And Shaw's like, what about Titan X? Whoever lured that thing back here can still do whatever they had in mind. Control it, weaponize it. And Kay's like, Kate and Kentaro are there too. And Shaw's like, I think we have a new mission. Get Kate and Kentaro and figure out a way to send that Titan home. Kai's like, Lee is right. So Tim agrees and he says, okay, prepare the ship, we're going in. On the other side of the storm barrier, it's like, wait, is it daylight now? And the helicopter's flying. Kentaro is next to Isabel. And she's like, incredible, isn't it? And Kate's like, so are you going to tell me what we're doing here? Because someone I trusted once told me that everything on this island is trying to kill you. And Kentaro's like, and you didn't listen. Not then, not now. You could have stayed behind. Yeah, it's like, okay, there's only a Titan battle on the beach. And she's like, well, I'm not letting you go alone. He's like, it's my choice, and I'm not alone. And Kate looks over at Isabel, who gives Kate like a smile, because she's like, it's almost like, well, I won because he's with me. He chose me type of thing. But can we just agree that he's being such a complete ass? It's like, oh my gosh, he's so, I don't know who's more annoying, him or Isabel. Or maybe Kentaro. I don't know. And then Kate's like, what exactly are you planning to do with the egg? Kentaro, what has she talked you into? And he finally looks at her for like a split seconds, because it's almost like he's such a wuss. You know, he's such a like follower or whatever. It's like he can't even like look at her because he realizes he's being such an idiot. So he looks at her for like split seconds, and he's like, why do you assume she talked me into anything? And then Isabel's like, we're here. And so they can see the other helicopter lower the egg onto the back of like a flatbed truck thing, like a transport thing, whatever. And Kate's like, you really think that stealing her offspring is going to do anything but enrage her? It's inhumane. And Kentaro's like, inhumane? You keep forgetting. They're not human. And Kate's like, why are you helping these people? Why are you on their side? And he just gives her like a condescending look and doesn't answer. He does this so many times when he's like asked something. Like he did it to Isabel, he's doing it to Kate. He's like asked something and he just won't answer. And it's like that's his solution to everything. He just because he doesn't have any answers. He's like, So Outpost 18 sends out like a couple of like the small crafts or whatever to Island. So Shaw, Tim, Kai, and May, they're along with like some armed dudes. They go out there. So May has this scanner, says that the signal's still good as long as the batteries hold out. Some rando dude, he asks, what do they need the tracker for? It's pretty obvious where it's going. They could just follow its path. And May's like, have you been to Skull Island before? Because I have. So you're going to be so worried about being ripped up to a million pieces, you're not going to know which way's up. So yeah, we need the tracker. This other random dude asks, what about Kong? And Tim says that once he finds out that Titan X is on the island, he's going to come running. And he's got a pretty big stride, so he could be here any minute. It's like the only thing that they can do is get in and out as fast as they can, find out where they're leading Titan X, and then get it back to Axis Mundi. And then May's like, her back. So Tim's like, yeah, get her back to Axis Mundi where she belongs. He's like, good? Okay, try not to die. And the guy's like, yes, sir. Kai's looking through like one of Billy's journals, and Shaw asks if she's found anything that can help them, send the Titan back home. And she says she thinks so. Billy had these images from something called Landsat, and Shaw's like, Landsat? He's like, wait a minute. That's like an early Earth imaging satellite network from like the 60s. And she's like, oh, well, Billy thought Titan X's migratory route ended on Skull Island. If he was right, and Skull Island is where Titan X goes in and out of Axis Mundi, there has to be a naturally occurring stable rift somewhere here. Billy marked all of these sites as possible rifts, so one of them could be Titan X's way home. So Shaw points to a spot on the map. He's like, let's start here and see where it takes us. So she keeps looking at the journal, and then she sees one that's marked, it's from October 21st, 1958. So Billy's like, this is huge, Kai. It's like confirmation of a rift. This means a Titan network might actually exist. And she's like, yes. And he's like, who knows where it could lead to? So they're in the territory of Papua and New Guinea, and they're like running in the rain. So they knock on the door of this place, and Billy's like, this changed everything. And Kay's like, I'm so happy for you. He's like, for us. And she's like, yes, for us. So Billy knocks. This dude answers, what the bloody hell do you want? And Kay looks at Billy. He's like, we want to get married. And dude kind of sighs, turns, and so they walk inside. So, and it's his little office where he's like, so you got rings? And Kay's like, it's a bit spur of the moment. And then Billy's like, probes. We need to send something down the rift, see where it goes. He's like, Zook built that Titan tracking device, remember? With a multiband radio transmitter? And she's like, yes. He's like, I bet we could adapt it to. And she's like, Billy, we're getting married right now? He's like, we are, aren't we? The other dude starts doing the vows thing, whatever. Then Kay's like, Billy, I never thought that I would find someone who dreams as big as I do. Someone who sees the world the way I do, full of possibility and magic. I promise to always believe in you and your crazy ideas. I love you. The dude's like, And she's like, oh, I do. So then dude asks Billy, blah, 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 do you take, whatever. And then Billy's like, it's not fair. And he's like, I didn't prepare anything. And she's like, it's okay. But it's like, she didn't prepare. She didn't have time to, it's spur of the moment. Because he's like, I don't have any words. And the dude's like, yes, we'll do, mate. So they get married. Dude pronounces them Madden Dr. Wife, because Billy made a point that her name was Dr. Randa. So on Skull Island, in the present, Isabel walks on this hall it's an old Monarch base with Kate and Kentaro. Kate's trying to figure out what they're doing, and she asks Kentaro if he's trying to kill her, the Titan, to get revenge for Dad. He said, this isn't about revenge. And Kate's like, then what is it about? Isabel's like, I'll show you. So Kate's like, I was talking to my brother. So they enter this command room. There's other people. So then somebody was like, Miss Simmons, welcome back. And she asks, what's their status? Says the dude's at the computer or whatever. He says Titan X is approximately 12 kilometers away, headed straight for them. And he says that she was right, using an egg for bait. And Isabel says that they have Kentaro to thank for that. And it's just like, ooh. So it's like, did she purposely say that? Did she say that to boost his ego, or to kind of throw it in Kate's face? I mean, I feel like it's more of that. He says to Kate, it's like, we don't want to kill it. We need it to open a rift. Kate's like, you can't open a rift. You don't know what'll come out of there, or who's going to fall in it. And Isabel's like, your grandfather discovered rifts all over the globe. In fact, he theorized that there's another rift somewhere on this island, a central hub that could take you anywhere in the Titan network. What we need is to open a stable rift for an indefinite period of time. That's why we need to find this one. And Kentaro's like, it's our way to Axis Mundi. And Kate's like, why would you possibly want to go there? And Isabel's like, that's exactly the reaction people had when NASA proposed going to the moon. It's like, give me a break. It's like, do you even know what you're talking about? And going to the moon, it's not like there's monsters, gigantic, colossal monsters on the moon. Pretty sure. It's just, I don't know. It just blows me away. Kate's like, the astronauts didn't come home to discover that it was 60 years later and everyone they loved was dead. And Isabel's like, exactly. But think about if they had. I mean, right? What if you had, say, a terminal illness and you could go someplace for a week or a month and come back and there was a cure? So I don't know about that. It's like, okay, I'm dying. I'm going to go away for a little bit. And then I guess someone will send me word when it's okay to come back. And then you come back and it's 50 years later. It's like, hey, grandkids. I don't know. And she's like, what if you could visit the future? It's like, visit the future, but is it a round trip, or is it just one way? It's like, yeah, I want to go to 2015 and see flying cars, but then are you going to be able to get back home? You know what I'm saying? Kate's like, you want to exploit Axis Mundi as your personal time machine? And she doesn't say anything. But it's like, obviously, she's going to charge an arm and a leg for this. Because that's what it's going to be about. It's not like, oh, this is for the betterment of mankind. No, it's you're going to charge them and whatever. And Kate's like, Kentaro, please, I know how you feel, that you want to do something, that you need to do something. That's how I felt when I pushed that button. But I was wrong. I had no idea what I was going to unleash, and I should have listened to you and Dad. Don't make the same mistake I did. Whatever this is, it's not going to bring Dad back. And he is such a baby. He just turns away from her without actually trying to talk. He doesn't say anything. But the other thing, they keep saying this, correct me if I'm wrong. She pushed that button, she opened a rift, but it was to get Shaw back. And I don't think they've said that. So she took the calculated risk. It's like, okay, we need to open this rift so we can get Shaw, so we can save him. And yeah, in the while that happened, Titan X came through. But she still saved Shaw, and it's like no one cares about Shaw. It's just, it seems so weird that, I don't know, they never mentioned that. So yeah, she took a risk, but you had to do it. The others outside are trying to follow the scan signal on Titan X. Kay says that Shaw that he never told her how he manages to get the tracker in Titan X. He's like, very carefully. And he's like, actually, I didn't remember myself until just recently. She's like, I don't understand. He's like, neither do I. Neither does Suzuki entirely. Some bizarre science said, if you might understand, but hell if I do. She's like, try me. He's like, I'll try later. So that's a weird thing. It's like he just said now he didn't remember that he did that before, but now he does remember doing it. Because so the question is, did he do it before? That's the thing about time travel stuff. Is like, I don't know. So this part was kind of weird because it's like they're walking through the woods, like, on Skull Island. They kind of walk, and we see like a couple mushrooms and it's almost like the cameras are focused on them. But it's like really, no, they walk over this branch and there's happens to be a couple of mushrooms there or something like that. And it's like, is something gonna happen with the mushroom? And then Tim trips, because I'm focused on the mushrooms. Because then Tim tripped like by the mushrooms. And I was like, so what's gonna happen? He's gonna touch one, he's gonna hit it or something like that. No, there's nothing to do with the mushroom. Because he kind of trips and then he almost like bumps into like Shaw and Kai. And then he says to May, he's like, this place kind of sucks, huh? And she's like, imagine what's beneath. Then we see that the branch is actually some sort. At first I thought it was like a serpent, but no, it's more like a tentacle or something like that. May's like teasing Tim a bit about some stuff. And then this dude behind him, whoosh, he gets grabbed and pulled up. And May, she heard something, she spins around. And then they realize that one guy's missing. And then another guy, whoosh, he gets pulled up. And one dude, he starts shooting up above. It's like, okay, two people got pulled up and you're just blindly shooting. You might shoot the people that you're concerned about. But maybe it's better to get shot than to get eaten and digested or whatever. So there's a Titan up in a tree. It almost looks like it's like camouflage. It almost looks like a like Predator type style where it's like kind of shimmery and visible, but not exactly, whatever. And so more people are getting grabbed or whatever. And so I guess it has like all these kind of like vine, like it must be like tentacles or whatever, and it's just grabbing people. May gets grabbed by the ankle, and Tim like goes to her. He grabs her arms as she's getting like dragged and like pulled up. The tentacle grip, eventually it slips and it lets her go. And then a couple of soldiers like help them up and they move on their way. So, but it looked like she was going to get pulled away. Shaw and Kay, they almost make it to like some cave or something like that. So they got kind of separated. Shaw tries radioing Tim, and he calls out to the rest of the Monarch group team, but there's like some static or whatever. Someone responds that they have 4 tactical down. They're trying to get each other's locations, but there's just too much interference. And then he asks Kay if she really believes that rift of Billy's is somewhere nearby. And she's like, he circled the globe looking for rifts. Something compelled him to come here. If we find it, maybe we can send Titan X home. And he's like, okay, we'll stick with it. Divide and conquer. They got the tracker. They'll find Titan X. We'll see if we can find Billy's rift while we still got time. In the command center place, Kate says to Isabel, when it gets here, you can't just find a rift and jump in it. And Isabel's like, actually, we're working on an entry craft. And Kentaro's like, Kate, you're not the expert here. You don't know what's going on. And it's like, oh, he does. He's had a glimpse into this plan for maybe a few hours. When she taught before he flew back to Thailand or from Thailand. It's like, oh, how much does he know? What does he know? So Kate's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a physicist. I'm just a science teacher. But I know that there's no such thing as a time machine. I know that you can't change the past no matter how much you want to. And she takes like a step closer to him. She's like, Dad wouldn't want to see us this way. He wouldn't want anyone else to get hurt, not for his sake. And Isabel's like, she's right. What we're doing is crazy risky, and it could totally blow up in our faces. If you want to go home, Kentaro, you should go home. And so here she's trying to play it like, basically like, oh, you want to be a wuss? That's fine. You can go be a wuss. I'll just find some other guy to bat my eyes at. So she's like, be with your family. Frankly, I'm envious that you have somebody who cares so much. Really, take the chopper. The Monarch ship is just offshore. And Kentaro says to Kate, she's like, I don't want anyone else to get hurt, so go. And then with that, Isabel's like, escort Miss Randa to the helicopter. Because she's basically like, okay, Kentaro made his decision. Kate, you're out of here. she's like, Kentaro, please don't do this. And like a couple of men like kind of forcibly grab her and like drag her away. And she's like, she's saying, she's trying to use you. And then Isabel says to him, she's like, it's okay if you have doubts. He's like, I'm fine. She gets a call from some girl, like, it's almost time. Titan X about 12 minutes away. Then she's like, she asks about Kong, and a dude like curses. He's like, oh, he's on the move again. So it's like, he could have detected Titan X. And she's like, could have or did? And the dude's like, maybe. He's heading that direction. And she's like, then give him a distraction. And she tells Kentaro that she wants to show him something. So the dude tells the lady, he's like, play the skull crawler. So a helicopter with like big speakers blaring like roars flies around. So Kong comes shambling around a corner. He looks around trying to figure out which way to go, and he like roars. Tim asks May about the signal, and then the soldier dude tells Tim that they've already lost half their team. They should consider heading back to the beach, And with some disdain, May's like, what about Kate and Kentaro? Tim's like, and Colonel Shaw and Dr. Randa are still up ahead somewhere. The dude's like, if they're still alive. And May's like, excuse me? And Tim barks like, hey. And he's like pointing a finger like in the scaredy dude's face. He's like, if they are still alive, which they are, they would stay on mission. And so are we. Now Kong, he's on his way. So we need to pick up the pace. And we are not leaving anyone else behind. Is that clear? And the guy's like, yes, sir. He's like, that's clear? Yes, sir. He's like, yes? Okay, great. He's like, sorry for being a dick, but it feels good to be in charge. It's like this guy's, he's a little trained armed soldier, and he's just like, let's go back. I'm scared. Which I guess, you don't train for a giant Kong coming at you. Isabel brings Kentaro like through this like vault door. She's like, this is it. This is our Cape Canaveral. This is where we'll launch our mission. So it's like a platform looking up to like a valley. In the distance, you can see like the truck with the egg. It's sitting there. And she's like, are you thinking about what your sister said? She's like, listen, I know I don't have any of my father's resources behind me, okay? I have my trust fund and a group of extremely smart people who believe that we can do this. And now I have you. And he's like, see, I'm still not sure what exactly I bring to the party. It's like, do you know why NASA chose Neil Armstrong to be the first one to step on the moon? And Kentaro's like, because he was the best pilot. It's like, they were all the best pilots. They knew that whoever they chose to take the first steps would become the most famous person in the world, maybe the most famous person in history. It was never about choosing the best person. It was about choosing the right person. You are Kentaro Randa, Bill and Keiko Randa's grandson, Hiroshi Randa's son. You are the right person. But it's like, why? What makes him the right person? I mean, you have Kate, you have Keiko Randa, and he's the right person. So she's like, there's one thing we need to do first. We can't set up a base here with Kong roaming the island. And Kentaro's like, I thought we were going to distract him, keep him busy. And she's like, how long do you think we can do that? That's why we brought the Titan X here. He's like, I thought we needed it to open a rift. She's like, we do. And then we needed to take out Kong. He's like, take out Kong? That's impossible. She's like, it's necessary. He's like, you can't kill Kong. And she's like, why? Because he can't be killed, or because you don't want him to be? He's like, you didn't tell me that this was part of the plan. She's like, I know, and I apologize. He's like, why did you lie to me? She's like, because I was scared. I was afraid that if I told you the truth, you would say no, and then I would have to do all of this by myself. Kentaro, you know how important this is. And she's like, it's here. And he's like, okay, we should watch this from inside. And she's like, no. And she like takes his hand. She's like, I need to see this. Stay with me. So Titan X enters the scene, and she radios, prepare to execute. We see Kate, she's still like struggling, fighting the guys. PA's like, all personnel, report back to base. Stage 1 has begun. So Titan X approaches her egg. Isabel radios. She's like, wait, not yet. Kate's like sitting in back of a helicopter. And then she opens the door and jumps out. And the guy's like, hey. It's like, way to go. You stick her in the back of the helicopter, close the van door, and then you get in the front cockpit, and then she just jumps out. So Titan X like turns and looks in the directions of Kentaro and Isabel. So it's like, can it smell them, sense them, or whatever? Then she's like, now, as it like roars. So a little like like kind of pipes, like almost like sprinkler heads, pop out of the ground. They have like multiple like things. They start like spraying something, like some big mist, gas or something, and Titan X is engulfed in this big like cloudy mist. Kate's like running back down the hall to the command room. Place is starting to shake. Titan X is like glowing red, but then collapses. Isabel's like thrilled. She's like, "We did it!" And she turns. Kentaro's just got like a cold like face, like, expressionless. She like turns him. She like hugs him, and she's like, "Oh my God, we did it! It's ours!" And she stares at Titan X, and Kentaro like gives her this look. He's kind of like disgusted with her. It's like, okay, so maybe he's not the big idiot that we think he is, but he's still a big idiot. Kay and Shaw compare like a valley with what's on a map. They're looking, seeing, trying to find landmarks. They hear some voices. They duck down. There are some others, like some of Isabel's people, and they're like, Site 2 doesn't check out either. We're on scene, and there's no sign of a rift. And someone responds, "Return to base immediately." So the dude's like, "But we haven't checked out the third site yet." And the response is, "That'll have to wait. It's like phase 2 is a go." So they get in their little jeeps and they leave. Kai asks Shaw, like, "Who are they?" And he's like, "Well, they're not Monarch, and they sure don't look like Apex." So he says that he thinks they must be like whoever has Kate and Kentaro. And Kate's like, "What's phase 2?" And he's like, "Not good." He's like, "They're bugging out in a hurry." And Kate says that they must be looking for the rift. Then they look at the map, and Shaw asks, like, where to now? She pauses and she thinks. It's like, I still don't understand. What was Billy, onto? It's not in his journal. He's already marked half a dozen, places, and what's so important about this place? And Shaw's like, "You know how he was. I mean," and she's like, "I thought I did, but he left Hiroshi, and he came here. Something was different. What changed after I was gone?" And Shaw's like, "What changed?" He's like, "After we lost you, everything changed. Everything." Then it's Kazakhstan, 1959. It's like, "We're too heavy. Give me your hand. I can't hold on. Reach. Kai, reach." And so Billy's thinking back, and Shaw comes up to him. They're like at a train station, and Shaw says that the train leaves in 10 minutes. They got to go. Billy shakes his head. He's like, "I'm not leaving, not without her." And Shaw's like, "She's gone." And Billy's like, "You don't know that." He's like, "I do know that." He's like, "You're going to have to start coming to terms with reality. Those things, they were just..." And Billy cuts him off. He's like, "If the returns from the seismic charges accurately reflected voids beneath the surface, she could have found a space." He's like, "Billy," he's like, "to shelter in." "Stop, Jesus, stop." He's like, I couldn't hold on, Lee. I tried to, but I let her go." Shaw's like, "You didn't listen to me. I told her not to go. Why didn't you listen to me?" I'm sorry, Lee. And like, it's too late for that now. And it's going to haunt us for the rest of our lives. So I appreciate the writing here that, Shaw, I mean, obviously, Billy is upset. It's his wife. And Shaw is upset too, because, he cares about her. But I like how it's like, okay, he really likes Billy. Billy's like his best friend. He's got a lot of respect for him. He just lost his wife. He's hurting. But at the same time, he's not going to sugarcoat it. It's like, dude, I told you guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat and say you did. No, this was dumb. I said, don't do this. You did it. So I kind of appreciate that. The truck with the egg is being moved. Isabel and Kentaro, they're walking down now in the valley. They got like these big clear gas masks on. And she's like, "We didn't know that this anesthetic agent would even work on a Titan nervous system, so we don't know how much time we have until it wears off." And Kentaro's like, "What if it doesn't want to fight Kong?" And she's like, "You saw it take on Godzilla at the beach, didn't you?" Kentaro's like, "It was protecting its egg." And she's like, "And now you sound like your sister." He's like, "Anything can be driven to fight if it has a proper incentive. Brenda's project failed, but it proved that we can tap into their nervous systems. But instead of trying to reduce their aggressions, we're going to ramp it off the charts." And Kentaro looks like Titan X with like concern. And she's like, "Don't have any empathy for these creatures, Kentaro. They don't have any for you, and they didn't have any for your father." And Isabel gets a call on the radio that Kate Randa has escaped from the copter, and she's on the loose in the base. But it's like, the way they make it sound like, it's like, what, are they afraid she's going to find something or see something? So Kate's running down this hall, and luckily she ducks into this like little alcove where there's a door. The door's shut, but she manages to hide from some dudes that like walk down because there's like this like little thing sticking out in the alcove. It's like it's a big radio system or something like that. So I guess she was able to duck behind it. It was like very convenient. The G people, I think they arrived. They talked to Isabel. Guy says that they found, or maybe some other people. No, because they said they found something implanted in the Titan, and it looks like some kind of tracker. So they must have been like checking out Titan X while it was unconscious. So May curses because they suddenly lost the signal. She says that it's just stopped transmitting, and a knowing soldier dude's like, okay, so which way's up? Tim's radio starts picking up signal. The dude says that they're out of range of Outpost 18. Tim's like, but it's a Monarch frequency. The dude says that they need to turn it down, and May's like, no, you need to listen. The dude's like, well, something out here is going to hear us. He's like, we need to turn it down. And May's like, yeah, that's the point. It's a radio. Somebody's there. So she grabs a radio from Tim. It turns out it's Kate. So, because she found a radio by the door, alcove thing, whatever. And May's like we're coming to you. And she's like, no. She's like, get off the island. They have the Titan. And May's like, what do you mean? Is Kentaro with you? And Kate's like, Kentaro's with them. And May's like, what do you mean? With who? Who's he with? And then Kate's like, Isabel Simmons. She has an entire base here. And May's like, I knew she was up to something. And Tim's like, the base? What kind of base? Where? Kate says it's an old Monarch base, and she's luring the Titan here. And she's like, I have to go. And she's like, there's a valley. Find a valley. And May's like, wait, Kate. But Kate turned off the radio. And May asks Tim if that means anything to him about an old base. He's like, yeah. He's like, we got to get there before Kong does. So Kate continues down the hallway after a couple dudes walk past and turn a corner. Shaw and Kai are walking towards the next site marked on the map. There's a bunch of mist. And I was like, is this the gas? But no, I guess it's some other place. But there's a bunch of bones, like big giant bone remains. Shaw finds a couple like rifle, big, whatever bullet casings. He says that, something very, very bad went down there. Kay sees like a strap kind of buried in the dirt. She pulls out, it's like this little pouch. And Shaw's like, what is that? And she digs a little more, and she finds an old camera. And she's like, it was Billy's. She's like, I think this is where he died. And she sits, and she's like, GDU, Billy. I was like, I trusted you. I believed in you. And you threw it all away for what? Flashback, Reading, Pennsylvania, 1968. Billy, he's got a beard, a tweed jacket. He's like kind of this classroom type thing. There's a little chalkboard, a map of the world drawn on there, and there's like some dots that he's circled. And he's like, all these points are collections of entry. I called them rifts, all right? They're cross-circuited quantum entanglements that I believe are somehow connected, allowing the creatures that exit here to transverse. He gets cut off. There's a female student. She's like, creatures? What? Like Bigfoot? So there's not a lot of students in there, like maybe like 12 in there. So this lady, she's just rudely interrupted. I don't care. You got your hand up. He's in the middle of a lecture, and she just like interrupts. It's like, raise your hand and let your teacher, your professor, call on you instead of just interrupting you. But Billy's like, why not? He's like, many folkloric tales are based in fact. And so, what if our friend, Mr. Bigfoot, could move freely through the system? So he draws like lines, whatever, popping out at any stop along the line. This other dude's like a subway? And Billy's like, exactly, like a subway. So someone walks in, and Billy continues. He's like, and like a subway, once you go in, you could pass through it and come out somewhere. So he stares at the person who walked in, because it's hard to make out who they are, because there's the light from the doors outside. So you just see like the silhouette. You can't see their face or whatever. Then the dude turns and he walks out. Billy's like, that's all for today. Class dismissed. So he walks out after the dude. He's carrying like this kind of like big rectangular satchel thing. He's like, wait. He's like, here, I'll take it. At first I was like, who is this guy? And it was Dr. Suzuki. And he's like, I made you dozens. He's like, have you retrieved any of them? And Billy's like, it means I have to keep trying. It's like, the map isn't complete. And Suzuki's like, it's time to admit that the data does not support your theory. Because like, you can't prove something doesn't exist. He's like, we're only limited by our imagination. And he's like, stop. Perhaps we both should have imagined less. Maybe then Keiko and Lee would still be with us. So yeah, so at this point, Lee's gone also. And then Billy's like, just give it to me. And he like lunges for the box. And he's like, Billy, what are you doing? The box falls, and like this big sort of like metal cylinder type thing like falls out of it. There's like some grooves and stuff. It almost looks like a, not really a rocket, but it's a probe. Suzuki's like, stop. He's like, go home to your son. And Billy's like, I can't. And there's like all these people outside, whatever, the university, wherever they're at. I forgot where I said. They're just like staring at him. He's like, I can't yet. He's like, and our work isn't done. And Zook's like, don't ignore the family you have, chasing the one that you lost. So Kai says, the last spot that he marked should be just ahead. And Shaw's like, Kate, I'm just saying. And she's like, let's just finish this. And Shaw's like, you can't know what's in Billy's head. She's like, let's just finish this. Let's find Kate and Kentaro and get off this island. So she kind of looks at the surroundings. She's like, well, this is it. This was the last spot that he marked on the map. But he died before he could check it out. At least it's pretty. And he's like, Kai. And she's like, I just don't need a pep talk right now. He's like, no, wasn't going to give you one. Kai, what is that? Right. And she's like, what? Right there. What is that? There's something kind of like glinting, like shining in the sun. It's a cylinder thing that Billy got. And she's like, this is Suzuki Sensei's work. And he's like, yeah, it's just like the one we saw at home on Hadaroma. So I guess Billy brought it with him when he came here. And he's like, wait a minute, look, there's another one. Huh, and another one. And, well, he brought enough of them. And she's like, unless he didn't bring them. And she's like, probes. Billy wanted to send down probes. It's like, wait. She brushes some dirt off. There's like this little placard. It says, William Randa, July 1966, Madagascar. Shaw, he reads out loud. And Kai looks at another one. 1971, New Guinea. The next one's 1968, Loch Ness. Of course, there's a rift in Loch Ness, right? For Nessie. 1972, Kazakhstan. She's like, he went back. And Shaw's like, he was chucking them into the rifts all over the world. She's like, they all came out here. And Shaw's like, Billy's Rift. Kai, we found it. This is it. This is Grand Central Station. And she kind of laughs. She's like, oh, Billy. And she unscrews the one in her hand. She's like, wait, there's something in here. And Shaw's like, yeah, this one too. So Kay unfolds a sheet of paper. And it's like, Keiko, I didn't have the words when it mattered, but I hope you hear them now. So Shaw was she started reading it, and he was reading his, and then he folds it back up because it's probably the same thing, and he realizes it's not for him to see. So it says, I hope you hear them now. That you could possibly be in love with me lies beyond all logic. I vow to love you in this world or any other, no matter where this love takes us. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth, which is the name of the episode, and beyond. Signed, Billy. And she's like, you found me, Billy. And Shaw nods to her. She's like, he was looking for me the whole time. That's why he came here to find a rift, to find me. And again, Billy Randa was in Kong Skull Island, played by John Goodman. So he kept looking. So, yeah, and then he never went back home to Hiroshi. So she's like, came here for a rift to find me, and Shaw's like, wow. She's like, and he never gave up on me. The camera pans back, and it looks like there's a shimmer underneath the pond. So there's a pond there, so that must be where the rift is. Isabel and Kentaro return to the control room. She asks the dude for an update. He says the anesthetic is wearing off, and she's like, this is it. Kentaro asks if they found Kate yet. The dude's like, not yet, but he's like, trust us. He's like, we will. Isabel says that right now they need to stay focused. They only get one shot at this. And she's like, are you with me? And he nods. He's like, yeah. So they're watching Titan X start to wake up on a monitor. Dude's like, massive neural activity in Titan X. It's waking up. It's like, duh, there's a screen right there. You got a camera, a drone or whatever, it's starting to move. So it's just like so stupid. Isabel asks if the system's online, and he says it's something that's like it's charged and ready to fire or whatever. So they pull this lever. Some charges are sent into Titan X's head and body. So they must have put some sensors or something on it, and it like shudders and like roars. Meanwhile, Kong's on the move, and then he realizes he's been going the wrong way because he was like following the helicopter speakers. So he obviously he's a little mad. He turns and goes, tries to figure out where he's going to go. Shaw says that they're running out of time, so they got to find a way to get Titan X into this rift. Kate is still on the move as well, and she sees a screen with like Titan X like in paint. Isabel's eyes are like wide. She almost looks like a mad woman. The screen says neural implants active. So the dude tells her the synaptic connection is stable. Isabel smiles and she looks back at Kentaro because she looked at him before. When she looks at him this time, he's not there. And she like looks around the room because there's like a bunch of people there. He's not there. Kate is actually in this room with the egg, so they must have moved it, obviously, because Titan X is coming. She goes up to it and like touches it, and you hear like, "You shouldn't have gotten off that helicopter. There's a rampaging Titan on the other side of this door." It's Kentaro, obviously. And she's like, "I know, and we can do something about it. We can give her baby back." Kentaro's like, "And then what? It just takes it and goes back to where it came from?" She's like, "Yes. That's what should have happened if we hadn't interfered. If I hadn't interfered. I did this. I let the genie out of the bottle. Help me put it back." He's like, "Kate, you can't." She's like, "Kentaro." But he's like, "But what you said before about Dad not wanting to see us like this, that's why I'm doing this. And that's why I don't care what happens to Titan X or Kong." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Dad, he doesn't have to die. We can save him." And that's the end of the episode. So he's thinking they can go. How do they even know that you can go backwards in time? Like where's the evidence? Where's the science? I mean, we know that Shaw talked to himself, his younger self, but what proof is there that you can go through a rift and go backwards? Because what we know, based off of what Kai did and what Shaw did, is you go in there, you sit there for a short amount of time, but time moves faster in the real world. So you're not really time traveling, but you kind of are. It's just time is passing different. But where is there any proof or logic or whatever that you can go in and go backwards? It's one thing if they can talk to someone, like tell Shaw, whatever, like, "Hey, Hiroshi's going to die here. We need to not, make sure that doesn't happen." So it's just, and what, I forget who said, I don't know if it was, I think they said in Big Bang Theory, the time machine episode, but other people have said this before, that you yourself, so you have not ever discovered time travel, because if you did, you would have visited yourself by now. You would have known about this. So the fact that they're here talking about wanting to save, or the fact that he's saying we can save Dad, we can make it so he didn't die, but he is dead, because if they can do that, then they will have done it. Whether it's in a week, a month, a year, whatever. If they can at some point go back and save his dad would be alive and they wouldn't be sitting there right now, right? That's where it doesn't make sense. Whatever. I'm not going to get caught in a spiral, but yeah. So we have one more episode left. So what do we have Kong coming. Godzilla is just like, "I'm out of here." and it's so weird with this show. It's like, this is a show about all the Titans, but it's a show about Godzilla and King Kong and everything. But they kind of come and go as they want. It's like, what's their contract say? So we got Kong coming. The Titan X is under whatever control, sedation. Because that's the thing. If they can amp up its emotions or angers, that sucks. So we'll see. And I don't know. Obviously, it's got to be a cliffhanger that we're going to be left with. So we'll see. Okay, that probably was a little longer than it should have been. But now we're going to talk about Daredevil. Daredevil Born Again. Season 2, Episode 7, The Hateful Darkness. What, we're at the penultimate episode of this also? Is that right? So it starts off, we're just going to jump into it because of time. It starts off, morning in the city. There's news reports of vigilante riots at City Hall, which give me a break. Attacks by criminals. We see blood on the steps. Daredevil's kind of listening to the city. So someone says, 3 injured, 2 dead. Mayor Fisk vows to restore order to the city. So now we see Fisk is dressed in a black suit. He's in his room. He looks at Vanessa's jewelry box, and it's wait, does he know something's missing since stupid Heather stole something? And it almost I don't know if because she took something, and I didn't rewind it to whatever to try to figure out, but she definitely took something, and then Buck entered. She stuck in her purse, and I don't know if it was a single earring. It's you didn't take both earrings, because realistically, would he notice if something's missing? Does he know all the jewelry that she owns? Maybe. I don't know. So at the police station, Karen is handing over her effects. She has to give up her clothes, and she's given some gray prison garb. Her mouth gets searched and everything because she's about to leave. And then the officer, the lady, grabs her by the wrist and kind of puts her hand down, and then shines a flashlight and shines it in her mouth or whatever. It's okay, is this officer on Fisk's payroll? What's going on? And at first I was why is she there and not whisked away to some, missing person, whatever, it's a task force black hole prison or something like that. So she's taken to the cell. Then Fisk walks down the hall. So he does have a big white coat over his dark suit. But then a creep, he stands outside Karen's cell. Hello, Miss Page. You have taken people from me, and out there they believe that you're a hero, yet I believe in order, and you are a criminal. Worse, you're the sidekick of a deranged vigilante. But it's, and this, I know it's just writing, I know it's a show, but this is the other thing that bugs me, and it bugs me because there are people in the real world that think this way. It's how can he say that she's a criminal, whatever, when he's literally murdering people. He's crushing their heads or doing whatever. He is killing people, and she's the criminal. And the thing is, how many people has he killed or whatever? He kills a doctor just because of whatever, he couldn't save Vanessa. So it's his fault. So he killed. Does the doctor have any family? Does he have a wife, kids, or anyone? And he just took him away. It's oh my God. He's you, broken and deluded. You abet his crimes. For what? Love? Ha! It's and then she stands up. She walks towards the cell door. It's you really want to do that? And she's I've never seen you scared before. I kind of like it. And he's no, not fear. And then he grabs her by the throat. It's okay, Karen, you are an idiot for getting that close. So he's got her by the throat. I said, why? And when she's doing this, she's gasping or anything like that. It's dude, scratch his hands with your nails. Get his DNA under your fingers, so there's proof that he does something. Because the question is he gonna squeeze her neck and kill her or whatever? Because at least you'll. So he's order, Miss Page, order, and because he's not fear, order, and she's no, you took it too far last night, and you know it. The city knows it. His face scrunches up. It's oh crap, he's gonna pop her head I don't know. He's just gonna squeeze, right? And then, but he looks he's a little pouty kid. He's just but then he releases her. She gasps and coughs. You have one phone call. Choose it wisely. And he walks away, and she gasps and recovers. But she has a smile on her face because she knows that he's kind of rattled. Mr. Charles is sleeping, and he kind of wakes with a gasp. He's because Jessica Jones is sitting right there, waiting. And she's good morning, sunshine. He's Jessica, wait, hold on, listen, before you choose violence. She's you sent your a-holes to my house. He's that was a mistake. They were just supposed to tell you to back off. And she's like, with my daughter there. He's like, I would never hurt your kid. I love children. And she's like, you listen to me. If you ever come at me or Danielle ever again, I swear to God, I will kill you. Do you understand me? And she grabs him by the shirt. He's like, yeah, please don't kill me. Also, I'm not really sure you can anymore because a little birdie said that your powers ain't what they used to be. And it's like, seriously, dude, you're going to, whatever. She lets go of the shirt with a little push. And she's like, speaking of little birdies, you're talking a lot of poop for a guy sitting there in his underwear with very limited options. And Mr. Charles like, don't forget, I'm the only one that can connect you with Luke. And she's like, where is he? And he's like, he's overseas. He's doing the Lord's work so that you don't have to. And she's like, you're behind Fisk's arms deal. He's like, no, I'm not. Because a couple antisocial vigilantes blew him up. No arms, no deal. And he kind of scoffs. She's like, thanks for that, by the way. And she's like, why are you covering for him? He's like, I'm not anymore. It's actually the opposite. The governor wants Fisk out. And she's like, good. That's great news. And Charles like, yeah, except he just went ape poop on his own voters. I don't think she can do it. The way I see it, this goes all kinds of wrong for Governor McCaffrey. And she scoffs. She's like, oh, crap. Jessica then is talking to Matt on the rooftop, and he's like, Fisk is going to kill the governor? And she's like, that's what Charles suggested very strongly. He's like, and you believe him? This guy was working with Fisk until about a minute ago. She's like, I don't believe a word that a-hole says, but in this case, it does track. Matt's like, she's the only one who can revoke the Freeport's charter. If Fisk puts one of his puppets in the governor's office, New York is his. And she's like, and we're on another rooftop. He's like, yeah, I'm meeting a friend. And then he comes up, Cherry, Jessica, Cherry. And he's like, hey, big fan of your work. And she's like, go on. But Matt's like, and Cherry's like, Karen's at the 15th precinct. And Matt's like, nice, thank you, Cherry. And he's like, all right, now hold on there, cowboy. They booked her legit. Prints, photo, phone call, the works. They're fast-tracking her to vigilante court. You go in there and bust her out, you are the criminal he says you are. And Matt's like, she's not safe there. And Cherry's like, if he was going to hurt her, he'd have done it already. Look, I'm told that he went to the precinct. They talked. He left. Matt's like, Fisk? Son of a bitch. And he's making it legal. We have anybody at the 15th? And Cherry's like, we do. Come on, Matt. It's like, I'm all over this. He's like, and you? To Jessica, he's like, you sticking around? And she's like, I haven't decided yet. And he says, city needs you. And she's like, I heard that one before. And Cherry chuckles. He's like, me too. And then Jessica's like, nice to meet you, Cherry. And he's like, you too. And then he leaves. So then Jessica says to Matt, what do you think? Are you going to hit the 15th? And Matt's like, I don't know. There might be another way. And she's like, I can't help you there. I did what I came here to do. I got Charles off my ass. I need to get home. I have Danielle. Matt's like, I know. You don't need to explain. I understand. She's like, Fisk isn't going to stop unless someone puts him down. And he's like, forgot how encouraging you were. And she's like, don't get yourself killed. The city needs you. So Daredevil uncuffs Bullseye. He was cuffed his cot. Daredevil's just kind of squatting there. Then Bullseye's like, well, what now? And Daredevil's like, you wanted one good deed, right? So we could balance the scales? And he's like, yeah. All right, but first know this. I hate you for Foggy. I hate you for Father Lantom, for Agent Nadim, for every life that you've wasted for no reason other than your own twisted soul. But part of me wants to kill you, and part of me wants to forgive you. And he's like, yeah, well, thanks. And he's like, don't do that. It's not for you. It's for them. Now go. Disappear. Die. I don't care. But if you really mean what you say, you want to do one good thing in your life full of poop, I got it for you. He's like, I can't make any promises, right? And Daryl's like, wouldn't believe you if you did. So then Bullseye's like, what do you want me to do? So what is he asking? I mean, you would think, would he say, I want you to kill Fisk? I mean, he's already tried doing that. And the fact that Daredevil stopped him, tried stopping him, but maybe he's changed his mind now? Have to wait and see. So it's nighttime. Karen's lying in her cot in her cell. she hears footsteps approach. So she sits up. She's relieved to see it's this dude, Brett. I'm going to admit, like, when he first appeared, I was like, wait, who is this guy? Was he in the show before? Police officer, whatever. So she knows him. She gets up and shake hands, and he says, it's been a while. And she's like, I wonder why they brought me to the 15th. He's like, hey, chief of detective gets to pull a few strings. And she's like, yeah, hot shot, huh? And then she's like, Fisk was here. He's like, I know. Only so much I can do. And she's like, yeah, I know. So he starts unlocking the cell door. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, come with me. So they go out. He takes her outside, out back. Daredevil's crouched around the corner. And she goes to him, and they hug. He's like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said what I did. So that dude, Brett, he's like, we all got to stop meeting up like this. It's like, I can't cover for that long, but you got 1 minute. And she's like, okay. So then Daredevil's like, thank you. And he's like, we don't have much time. And she's like, I can't go with you. And Daredevil's like, no, I know. I didn't come to get you. And she's like, oh, great minds, huh? Or something. And then she's like, look, I don't know what this is, but it feels like an opportunity. I think I have to stay. I have to face him in court. They tell you that he came to see me? And Daredevil was like, you okay? She's like, I'm alive. She's like, he's different. I don't know what's going on in his mind, but he's scheming, and he's planning, and he's way to hell ahead of us. I just don't think that we can run. And Daredevil's like, yeah, because he's losing the city, and he knows it. So he's going to prosecute you and humiliate you publicly, legitimately, and make everyone cheer for it. And she's like, can't say that's not smart. That means there'll be cameras. And Daredevil's like, exactly. And then she's like, holy spit. And Daredevil was like, turns out we may have to cross lines to stop him, just not the ones you think. So it's like, what are they talking about? Who cares about cameras? What does that mean? What are you going to try to get him to do? She's like, well, then. She's like, no, Matt, you can't. He's like, yes, I can. And then Brett's like, all right, time's up. Let's go. So they smooch, they hug. He's like, I'll be there when you need me. And she's like, you better be. So it's like, what's this all about? But the tricky thing, which I would be like, okay, so if she's on trial, well, one thing, is she going to go on the stand? And she goes on the stand, and if they ask, what is Daredevil's secret identity, or who is Daredevil? If she's under oath, she has to answer that, right? Unless it's like, is it relevant? I don't know how that works. So then Hochberg, he's talking to Fisk in the mayor office. He's like, aiding and abetting, murder, providing support to known terrorist Daredevil, and that's just nothing. That's to say nothing of inciting a riot. It's like, she didn't incite the riot. And he's like, just a matter of picking our strongest charges. And Fisk is like, charge her on all of them, convict her on all of them. And Hochberg's like, well, sir, given the time crunch, he's like, all of them. He's like, right, sir. Do you know the AG is going to want to be involved? So what is it? AG, assistant governor? No, not the assistant governor. Is it the assistant governor? AG? Is that not right? And Fisk is like, oh, well, what he and Albany want is irrelevant at this point. Then Heather knocks on the door. Sir, you asked to see me? He's like, yes, please, come in. Mr. Hochberg and I, we were finished, weren't we? And he's like, of course. And he's like, Dr. Glenn, always a pleasure. I might need a little of your expertise in this trial, if I may. And she's like, of course. Hochberg leaves, she sits. And Fisk is like, District Attorney Hochberg is an interesting fellow, isn't he? And she's like, he's a very skilled litigator. And Fisk is like, he makes my skin crawl. It's like, dude, you're one to talk. He's like, lawyers, they use words, twist the truth, don't they? And she's like, I think I know what you mean. He's like, I imagine you do. And she's like, I wanted to check on you, person to person. How are you, sir? And he's like, I don't know. I haven't been asked that. I always accepted love as a prison. I just never expected to be in it alone. And she's like, condolences are meaningless. Thoughts and prayers do nothing. No one tells you the truth in times like this, which is, this is going to hurt, and we don't know when or if it's going to end. He's like, no. Well, I appreciate your words. And then from his desk drawer, he takes out the ruby earring from Vanessa's jewelry box, and he puts it on the desk, slides it towards her. And she's like, Mayor Fisk, I'm so sorry. You don't have to apologize. It's curious, isn't it? When we act on impulse, we surprise even ourselves. And she's like, I'd like to think I have more self-control than that. He's like, but you didn't. And she's like, no. So she like picks it up. So what? I'm a little confused. Did she steal an earring? And then he's like, okay, you stole it. Just take the other one. And I still don't understand why she stole it. It's not like they were like best friends and she wanted something to remember. I don't know. I don't care. So then it's like, wait, is it court day already? It's like, is this the next day? How much time has passed? Because Karen's like in a vehicle, door opens, she's exited. Reporters are on the steps at the courthouse. She walks up with Kirsten. She's not in handcuffs or anything like that, so I guess that's good. And there's people I think they're cheering for her. And then cuts to BB's like, she's like, when can I get my stuff back? So she's with Daniel, or she's like, can she get her stuff back? And he's like, no. She's like, this is kidnapping, She's like, okay, look, I understand that you're mad, but he's like, no, I'm not mad. I'm more than mad. Mad doesn't even begin to cover it. I can't keep stalling Buck. And she's like, dude, fudge him. And he's like, fudge him? Fudge you. Look, I get it. You use me. I use you. But I'm sorry. I thought we actually had each other's backs. Your city without fear BS, it fudged us. So what, you were working with Karen Page? And she doesn't say anything. He's like, wow, how could you? And she's like, how could I? I started the BB report in my dorm room. I put every dime and every hour of my life into it. It's like, okay, people trusted it. It was real. And you turned it into some plastic commercial for Fisk's fascist New York. Daniel's like, I didn't see you complaining. She's like, okay, well, clearly you didn't watch City Without Fear. That's complaining. And all for what? So you can get out of Staten and get a douchebag condo? He's like, stop. And she's like, he killed my uncle. And Daniel's like, you don't know that. And she's like, yes, I do. And you do too. And he doesn't say anything. She's like, and decided to turn a blind eye. And is your problem. He's like, fine, whatever I did, it is. But you don't understand. That doesn't matter anymore. Because right now, Buck Cashman is waiting for me to hand you over to him. And if I don't, then he comes after me, and then you and my mom and anyone I care about. So, BB, you should be fudging terrified right now, because I am. She's like, then we should probably get out of here. He's like, yeah, we probably should. And she's like, give me my phone. And he's like, no. And she's like, why? He's like, because I don't trust you. She's like, just give me a second to fudging think. Just sit there and let me think. And she like scoffs. She's like, okay. He's like, we need a safe house. And she's like, what are you, Jason Bourne? He's like, no, just someplace that Buck doesn't know about. He's like, I have a friend, a finance buddy, works mostly in Hong Kong. I'll text him. And she's like, great. And then Daniel texts 350 Spring Street to Buck. So Buck gets the text. So is that the real address? Or is he like actually going to turn over BB because he doesn't have a choice? So Buck says to Fisk, he's like, Daniel is proving to be a team player. And Fisk's like, yes, he is. It's not easy to make the hard decisions. So they have the TV on. There's footage of like Karen walking like that, to the courtroom. And the caption says, alleged vigilante Karen Page trial begins, which is so silly that they're calling her. I mean, I guess this is something that is brought up. It's like, what is the definition of vigilante? Is she a vigilante? Buck's like, you think Karen Page knows? And Buck's like, knows what, sir? That she's the wounded soldier screaming in the field, drawing her comrades into the line of fire. And it's like, and some people are saying that maybe this storyline is why people aren't watching. Too many realities or whatever, and it is hard to watch sometimes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, Kingpin, just go away. So in the courtroom, reporters are like jotting down notes. Hochberg enters, and Kristen kind of glares at him. But it's like Hochberg comes in like at the last minute because this guy kind of sits down. Then the judge has entered. I was like, it's the same three judges again. I was like, are they the only ones? But then I was like, no, I think they mentioned like vigilante court, so that's why they're there. So they call Hochberg for his opening statement. Basically what they do is they kind of flip back and forth. So I'm going to do it the way they did it. It's like Hochberg says some stuff and then Kirsten, and they kind of go back and forth in their opening statements. So Hochberg's like, Your Honors, I stand before you today to ask you to convict and that you punish this woman, this criminal, Karen Page, for the crime she has committed against our great city. It's like already, it's like, okay. And Kirsten's like, Your Honors, I could argue my client's innocence. I could argue the illegitimacy of this court, which I thought that was like, okay, you're insulting their court. I could argue against the Safer Streets Act, but first, I want you to think on one very important concept. What is a vigilante? So that's what I was getting at. Is it he or she who breaks the law in order to get their own version of justice? Or is a vigilante the last resort to obtain the justice that a broken society can no longer supply? So, very eloquent. Hochberg, in his opening statement, he's like, the evidence will show that Miss Page is not a hero. She's not a freedom fighter for a noble resistance. No. She's a criminal responsible for the destruction of innocent human lives. Kirsten's like, Your Honors, you have a duty to this city. You have a duty to the ideals of this court, and fulfilling that duty can only come to one conclusion. And Hochberg's like, guilty. And she says, not guilty. So the middle judge, she looks at the other two, and it almost looks like she might be a little nervous, whatever. It's like, are you in Fisk's payroll, or are you scared to go against him? I mean, do you have any sort of human decency that you're okay with twisting things that are not, I don't know. So she says, thank you. And then prosecution can call its first witness. But Kirsten, she's like, Your Honors, before we proceed, I'd like to bring in my co-counsel. And she hands like a folder over to the judges. And Hochberg's like, co-counsel? It's like, what? Already calling for backup? Kirsten just ignores him, looks back at the door. Door's open. The audience gasps. It's Matt. And Matt's like, Matthew Murdoch for the defense, Your Honors. There's a lot of flashes, murmuring, oh my God, is that Matt Murdoch? So Karen smiles. The cameras are all pointed at him. Judge calls for order in the court. So Fisk sees us. TV announcer's like, Matthew Murdoch, the missing lawyer from Hell's Kitchen, has just walked into the courtroom. Despite a citywide search, Murdoch has not been seen since the destruction of his Brooklyn apartment months ago. So Fisk isn't too happy. Murdoch is well known for his heroic act of saving Mayor Fisk from vigilante gunfire, but he has now reappeared, apparently, to support. So that's the nice thing. Thanks to Fisk, he made him out to be a hero. He really pushed that. And now it looks like this hero is on the other side. So Powell's on the stand. And Matt's like, Officer Powell, tell me, what is the mission statement for the anti-vigilante task force? And he's like, to interdict, to apprehend, to prosecute extra-legal vigilantes to the fullest extent of the law. And Matt's like, to the fullest extent of the law? That sounds serious. And he's like, as a heart attack. And they show Cherry, so he's probably like, making a little dig at him, whatever. Matt's like, and Officer Powell, who formed the task force and created these parameters? And he's like, Mayor Fisk. And Matt's like, of course. So Kirsten, she talks to Cole, so now Cole's on the stand, and she's like, can you tell me about those scars on your face? And Cole's like, I got these in a firefight with Daredevil and Frank Castle. And she's like, in Mr. Murdoch's apartment? He's like, yes. And she's like, why were you there? And he's like, we were performing a wellness check. And she like smiles. She's like, wellness check? With assault rifles and MRAP personal carriers? I don't know. It seems like a lot of hardware for a blind lawyer. The audience like chuckles. And she's like, was the defendant there? And Cole's like, I was told, started talking about, was Karen there? I was told she drove the getaway vehicle. And Karen's like, you were told. What else did Officer Powell tell you to do? Did he tell you to kill Hector Ayala? Or maybe that was Mayor Fisk? And Hochberg's like, objection, immaterial, misleading, and prejudicial. So the judge is like, sustained, Miss McDuffie. I will caution you against these theatrics and remind you that there is no jury to play to here. And she's like, sure about that, Your Honors? And then they pan over to all the cameras recording. And then she puts her palms up like a mock surrender. She's like, no further questions. So the governor was watching. She closed her laptop. She makes a call. Some lady answers Alan Steverod's office. And she's like, it's me. I need the Attorney General. So then he's like, Steverod. And she's like, Alan, I think it's time we move forward on the suspension paperwork. Fisk's reign is over, but we need to move quick, though. It's gotten out of hand. Our window is now. Okay. So she wants to suspend Fisk. Awesome. Great. Are they going to be able to? Daniel's sitting in a car outside a building, so he looks. It has 350, so it's an address that he texts to Buck. And he looks at his phone. There's 3 texts from Buck. First one's like, question mark, question mark, question mark. And then the second one's, you here? Question mark. And the third one's like, ETA, question mark. And at first, it's like, is he by himself? No. BB's in the passenger seat. And she's like, Daniel, what's going on? And he kind of like bows his head. And she's like, Daniel. And he's like, you know, it's not just Fisk and Buck. It's me too. I've done things. Really, really fudged up things. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I went upstate with Buck to the Catskills and we buried a body. And she's like, Jesus. He's like, and I wish I didn't know I did that, but I can't have anyone else knowing I did that. And he gets out of the car, he goes over to her side, opens the door. He's like, come on. And he starts like, gets out, he starts like guiding her. And she's like, this isn't a safe house, is it? And she tries to like stop, but then he grabs her by the arm. And she's like, Daniel, please, Daniel. And then she's like, is this really the person you want to be? And he's like, fudge. He's like, come on, before he sees. So he takes her back to the car, hands her phone. He's like, take this and go. Don't go home. Don't tell me where. And do not go any place he would look, okay? And she's like, wait, what are you going to do? He's like, doing the right thing. Just let me. And she's like, thank you. He's like, of course. Just make it count. Court is adjourned until tomorrow morning. Karen's taken away. She tells Matt to be careful. He's like, you too. So he stands at the table listening, and then the Kirsten, he's like, they're not leaving, are they? And he's talking about Powell, Cole, and task force dorks. And she's like, no, they're not. And Cole whispers, like, the cameras are all off, sir. Fisk is in his bedroom. He's sitting on his bed now with his eyes closed. It's like, okay. Matt and Kirsten are taken to the garage by the friendlies, like, I think like Cherry and Angie, people that they can trust. So they're very cautious, they're all like panned out looking around. And then Matt stops because he hears something. There's like guns clicking, engine revving. He's like, run, Cherry, look out. Task force SUV comes driving. Powell, I think it was Powell, I could be wrong, but it looked like Powell, sticks his head out of the passenger window. He has an assault rifle, starts shooting, and they like duck. Police shoot back. One guy gets hit, he goes out. And Cherry tells Angie to take the wheel, so she gets in. They get Kirsten in there. Matt gets shot, looks like he gets shot, but he managed to throw his walking stick straight into the windshield, and the SUV smashes into a wall. And then Matt is somehow walking, but he's like wincing in pain. So then I'm wondering, he's like, is he wearing a vest? Because he didn't do the typical, like, rip the shirt open and show us the vest and the bullet slug. So I think he really got shot. And it might have been like a gut shot. And that's not good. The governor's in her study. She's, like, reading a file. And she has, like, her back to, like, the entrance. Someone creeps in behind her silently. And it's a hooded person. Then they pull out now, is it a garrote? A garrote? I think it's a garrote, right? The big wire. Puts it around her throat. And she's like struggling. And then there's like, and at first I was like, because he's like pulling tight. I was like, did he pull too hard and like rip the garrote in half? He falls. I rewound it a little bit. I just went back 10 seconds. And then second time I saw him, he gets hit like in the kind of shoulder and the head. So the governor gasps, she gets her breath back. Another hooded guy pops out around the corner and like kind of salutes her. It's Bullseye. So this must be the good deed that he's doing for Daredevil. And then we see him walking outside, like walking away. A couple like police cars pull up. And hopefully, I mean, probably not, but the body that's laying there, hopefully they can identify him and link him to something, because, that would help. Buck's sitting in a room. It's like a kind of like dark room. There's like a sofa. Daniel walks in. He's like, hey. And Buck's like, where is she? And Daniel's like, she's not coming. So Buck stands, takes off his jacket, walks towards Daniel, and softly he's like, where is she, Daniel? And Daniel's like, I think she had a birthday party. Buck sighs, like shakes his head, starts putting on gloves. He's like, now, sooner or later, we both know you're going to tell me. And then Daniel's like, fudge you, Buck. And Buck sighs again. Then headbutts Daniel, grabs him, like he kind of like pushes him, and then he grabs him, puts him in a chokehold, and then he knees him. I don't know if he kneed him in the back or the butt. And Daniel goes down. He's on the sofa, and Buck starts like punching him. And I think he punched him like maybe like 4 times, and then the scene changes. So we see Karen. She's cuffed to like an interrogation table. She's back in her like NYPD prison, t-shirt. And then stupid Heather comes in, and she sits across from her. Miss Page, it's nice to finally meet you. And Karen's like, Miss Glenn, are you here for Fisk? And Heather's like, I'm part of the mayor's office, yes. I also conduct psychological evaluations for the district attorney's office. And Karen like scoffs. She's like, I'll pass. And Heather's like, doesn't really work that way. I'm going to ask a series of true or false questions. Please answer truthfully. And she starts her digital recorder. And she's like, there are no wrong answers. And she's like, I like mechanics magazines. So these are the same questions she asked, what's his name, Jack. So Heather or Karen's like, the Minnesota multi-phase personality inventory is out of date. I can game it. And Heather's like, And Karen's like, most people can. Maybe we should try something else. And then Heather's like, what did you have in mind? So Karen's like, I'm in love with this man. He's completely inaccessible. He's distant, complicated. There are nights where I fall asleep in bed next to him, totally unsure of who he is. It worries me. And Heather's like, as it should. Karen's like, it's also totally hot. I'm sure you can understand. So what does that say about me? So Heather clears her throat, turns off the recorder. She's like, that's a very good question. I mean, what kind of person kills their own brother? And so she's talking about Karen. She's like, the mayor's office has detailed files. Fratricide is very rare. And she like reaches out and touches Karen's hands. Was Kevin molesting you? And she like pulls away. She's like, don't. No, it wasn't like that. And Heather's like, I'm sure. And she like chuckles. Did you feel powerful when you murdered James Wesley? After a lifetime of, I don't know, being used as a puppet by all these men? Daddy, brother, Frank Castle. And Karen hisses, fudge you. And then Heather chuckles. Funny, that's where the nerve is. Does Matt know? And Karen leans forwards. She's like, you want to know what I think? And Heather's like, Karen's like, I know that Matt, that mystery besides me, loves me in a way that makes every contradiction, every conflict in him and in me a part of us. And I'm willing to bet that that's a part that you can't really understand. And Heather's like, professionals call that transference. And Karen's like, yeah, well, I call it the truth. You were friends with Vanessa Fisk, weren't you? And Heather's like, I'm not answering any personal questions. That's unprofessional. And Karen's like, she had my friend Foggy killed. You know that? Is that in those files? And Heather doesn't say anything. And then Karen's like, Jesus, Matt really hurt you, didn't he? Enough that you'd run to them to feel safe. It's like, please, look, I get it. I'm sorry. And then she slaps her and slaps her back. She slaps her twice. And she grabs her by the face. Don't pity me. And Karen like chuckles. Too late. And Heather slaps her a third time. And Karen kind of groans. She laughs. She has a bloody nose now. And she's like, that all you got? And Heather's like, not even close. Karen chuckles. Heather packs up and she leans in close. We should do this some other time. And Karen's like, I can't wait. But it's like, is there anyone she can tell that she was just assaulted? We see Daniel's lying on the floor. His face is all puffed. He's a bloody mess. And he's like groaning on the floor. And Buck's like, where, Daniel? He's like, I don't enjoy this. And Daniel's like, I don't know where she is. Buck peels off his gloves, pulls out his gun, points it at him. And Daniel's like, oh, fudge. He's like, this isn't helmet, Buck. Gun cocks. Last chance. Daniel groans. Matt is groaning too. He's at the church. He like crosses himself. He can barely stand. Daniel's like, what is following his orders going to do for you? How long till you're on the floor with the gun pointed at your head? Buck kind of like flinches forward a bit. Still got the gun pointed at him. Matt starts a prayer. Fisk is still sitting in his bed with like a pained look on his face. Matt is telling, like, I forgot, the Saint of Obstacles or something like that, to pray for him because he's so helpless alone. We see Karen lying on her cot. Matt continues, please pray for me that God come to me in my hour of need and I receive consolation in all my tribulations and suffering. Buck like scowls at Daniel. Then Jessica enters the church. She follows the trail of blood. So I guess he wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest if there's all this blood there. And Matt's like, and that I may bless God with the elect for all eternity. Daniel continues groaning, closes his eyes. Buck glares. Matt says, amen. And then, bam! And Daniel's head like jerks. And I was just like, holy crap. So even though he was beating the crap out of him, he's got a gun pointed, I was like, is he going to kill him? Or is he going to like cave and be like, okay, I really like you, Daniel. But no, he shot him in the head. He sighs, he grabs his jacket, starts walking away, looks back, puts on his jacket, fade to black. I'm like, holy crap. So that's it for Daniel. It sucks. You know, he and the thing is, you know, he wanted to do the right thing. You know, he finally came to his senses and realized, and he could have done so much more. You know, he could have had, it's like, given BB like information or stuff to use, but yeah, he's gone now. So that is it. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't know, you know, we saw in the flashback that Fisk brought in, you know, gave Buck a chance or whatever, but it's like the fact that he's just doing this, it's like, and it's, you know, it's like Daniel said, you know, what does following his orders do for you? And I just don't understand that you can just knowingly follow orders from someone who's completely evil and just straight up murder people. Whatever. So that is it. That's Daredevil. All right, Star Wars, Darth Maul, Shadow Lord. So as I mentioned earlier, I think I'm going to make the call. I'm only going to do one episode this week. Maybe next week I'll do 2. I probably won't do 3 next week, but because pretty soon we're going to run out of shows because as we wait for the new stuff to start up. So we're just going to look at episode 7, and this gives me a little bit of buffer because hopefully, not that it's not going to happen, but hopefully I can get like kind of a head start over the weekend or what it's left of the weekend, whatever. We'll see. It's not going to help much, but season 1, episode 7, Call to Oblivion. And this is the thing, because like the way this ends, it's like a holy crap ending. And, you know, as I mentioned, I haven't finished episode 108. I'm like halfway through it. But as I'm watching this ending, and then it's like, click, next episode, it's like, okay, right. So over to PA in the city, it's announced that the Imperial, temporary, whatever, have declared an overnight curfew effective immediately. Public transportation has been temporarily halted. All non-military personnel are to remain indoors under penalty of arrest. And their stormtroopers are like stationed everywhere. We see Maul, Devin, and Riley, they're walking down this tunnel. Riley asks Devin, like, where is he taking them? He's like, who is this guy? Do you trust him? And she says not to trust anything he says. Maul is not their friend. He's a murderer. And then Riley's like, well, then, you know, why are we following him? And she says, because that Inquisitor won't stop looking for us until we're dead. And then Riley's like, okay, but as soon as it's safe, we sneak away, we find my father and your master. And Maul, and he can hear them. He's like, if I may, we are being hunted. It would be wise to follow me. If you choose to continue on your own, you do so at your peril. And so they continue, you know, going forward. Later, they climb down a ladder into like the lower tunnel. Devin's like, where are we going exactly? And she's like, I need to get back to my master and get this boy to his father. And Riley's like, boy? He's like, what? Maul's like, once we reach my camp, you are free to do as you choose. But you should know, I have a transport. She's like, you have a ship? He's like, oh, yes, a ship that can get you off-world. And Riley's like, wait, you're not considering his offer, are you? And she's like, of course not. Just keep quiet and stay close, okay? Then they hear like something behind them. So more shots of the street, stormtroopers walking. The PA is like repeating the message about the curfew. Lawson and Pocky are like sneaking about. Lawson said that those patrols are moving towards Sector 6 through 8. If the kids are wise, they'll head the other way towards 10. So he's like, let's hurry. And Pocky's like, this is not the time for haste. The connection I share with Devin will reunite us. It may take a little time, but rest assured, she will protect Riley until, and he's like, Riley wouldn't be in this situation if I had, and he's like, my friend, you cannot let your regrets consume you. We will find Devin and Riley before resuming our search for a way off-world. Your acquaintance, Rena Sewell, has she made contact? And Lawson's like, no, she's gone dark since the raid. Then let's proceed to Sector 10, as you suggested. Maul says to Devin, you fought well. An Inquisitor is a formidable opponent. She's like, my master's teaching. Who is your master? you said that he cast you aside. And Maul's like, his betrayal was devastating, but it was not the deepest wound he would inflict upon me. And she's like, is he still alive? And he like pauses, like, unfortunately. Then Spybot comes up to him. He's happy to see Maul. He's back. Was worried. And he like, as Devin walks by, he like spits. He's like, Jedi. And he's like, oh look, lousy boyo. Good luck staying alive. When he sees Riley, the Inquisitor is perched like atop of like a big building, looking down, trying to be cool. Stormtrooper Holo calls him, says the transport is en route to their sector. His presence is requested to brief and he like shuts it off. Barrio, the little mobster dude, the comedy relief, he sees a new arrival. He's like, well, look who's back. Because he sees Devin. Rook updates Maul, reports of Imperial patrols and probes just a few levels up. They're closing in. So Maul sighs, the time has come. We must leave immediately. And Riley whispers, they're not going to let us leave, are they? So Rook asks, what about them? And Maul replies, they must come with us. And she says that the ship is fueled. Devin tells Riley to follow her. Maul says that the ship awaits, and he looks and he sees that they're gone. And Spybot growls like they're getting away. Devin and Riley almost like walk off a ledge, and they go down this ladder. They walk in on like this other edge, and Maul jumps down in front of him. It's like, you said the choice was ours, and I'm not leaving without my master. And Maul's like, do you truly believe that you are ready to face the Empire alone? My patience for your vacillations wears thin. Now I am willing to help you achieve the power to defeat your enemies, but only if you come with me. She's like, we're not going to take out the whole Empire. And he's like, no, Devin, leave this planet with me, and I will reveal my plan to do just that. She takes Riley's hand, grabs her lightsaber, tells Riley it's time to go. Maul like freezes her in place with the Force, and she like can't move. Riley yells like, what are you doing to her? But he gets shoved back. Maul like Force shoves him back. Devin like struggles. She manages to turn on her lightsaber. They start fighting. Like up above, the Imperial probe droid sees like the sabers glowing. Spybot detects the probe droid and says that they've been spotted. So Rook tells Maul that they're coming. A shuttle with Stormtrooper lands. They start like shooting. Riley ducks behind like some crates. Maul ignores him and looks at Devin, and then turns to deflect like laser fire. Devin is about to go to Riley, but then she stands next to Maul to like block, the lasers. The other Mandos are firing too. Devin is fighting alongside Maul. More shooting. Another shuttle arrives. More Stormtroopers. One trooper sees Riley standing, orders him to freeze. Devin's like blocking bolts, and she sees Riley getting dragged away by the Stormtrooper. So she fights her way, like slices through Stormtroopers, gets to him. Riley's put on a shuttle, and it starts to lift off. She manages to leap up and get a grip on the side of the ship, but then like when the engines kick in, she like falls off. She kind of lands like this big puddle of water, like one of the tunnels. But she's at like a higher level, and she like looks down. She sees a bunch of like laser fire down below, and Maul's like fighting the Stormtroopers. He like pauses blocking, and he makes eye contact with her, but then she like turns and she goes the other way. At first I was like, is she leaving, or is she gonna like find some way down to help? But no. Outside the police station, that Imperial dude, Lieutenant Blake, he goes up to the Inquisitor who's standing outside. He said that there's news from a patrol in Sector 2X. They have engaged the fugitives. Inquisitor just walks away. And then this dark, like fancy shuttle lands. There's another cloaked figure inside, another Inquisitor, I guess. And he has like sort of like this skull-like mask and like red eyes, glowing eyes. I don't know what his name is. First guy is what, Merrick, right? I don't know what the second one is. Lawson and Pocky walk through a tunnel. Pocky tells him that his supposition was correct. This would be their only route. Lawson says that, he worked with one of his kind before years ago with the Jedi. He's like, it never added up to me what they said about the Jedi being traitors, not from what I saw. And Pocky's like, that means a great deal. Thank you. Then Devin comes running up from the opposite direction. She's like panting when she reaches him. Lawson's like, where's Riley? She's like, I'm sorry, Riley was captured. He's like, captured? By who? And she's like, Stormtroopers. I tried to stop the gunship, but it got away. And Pocky's like, who else was with you? And she doesn't want to answer. She's like, there's no time for this, Master. We have to rescue Riley. He's like, I fear our presence has made matters worse. It is us the Empire wants. Perhaps if we were to extricate ourselves, they would find leniency with the Lawsons. She's like, you want to abandon them and leave Riley to the Empire? Lawson's like, with or without you, I'm going to get my son and get as far away from here as possible. Devin's like, I'll help you. And Lawson's like, we'll start at the police headquarters. If you agree, and Pocky nods. Maul has finished taking out all the troopers that remain. Rook comes up to him. He says the Inquisitors will be coming. Rook tells a couple of Mandos to get to the ship, take only what's necessary. She tells, there's this one dude, I forgot his name, something with a K. He's carrying like a couple of crates, and she's like, the credits will slow you down. Oh, Kebris. He says that what he does with his cut is his business, and she's like, leave them. So they drop them. There's another guy who's like, two guys carrying this big crate. They drop with a thud, and they start moving like out towards the ship. Riley is taken to the police station in cuffs. He tries talking to security droids, like, he says, I need to talk to the two boots, TB0T. A stormtrooper like pushes him forward. He tries asking a stormtrooper who walks up to them, about two boots, but he tells him just to wait there. He's like, the lieutenant will be here shortly. Then two boots does come up to him, and he says that he's surprised Riley recognized him without his boots. He's like, regrettably, they were not in compliance with Imperial procedures. He's like, but that is irrelevant now. And he's like, Riley, why are you here? He's like, why have they placed you in binders? And Blake says, return to your station, droid. He's like, Lieutenant Blake, with respect, this detainee is a close acquaintance. He's like, I am aware your close acquaintance have been abetting Imperial fugitives. And Two Boots is like, abetting? Riley Lawson, have you any idea the magnitude of your actions? So he's like, take him to holding for the time being. And Two Boots is like, sir, protocol states we cannot. He's like, droid, would you like your memory to be wiped and reprogrammed? Then return to your station now. And Lawson's like, it's okay. I'll do as they say. Maul's gang's walking towards wherever their ship is stashed. Two Mandos with like credits talk. One's like, nearly all of our reserves were lost back there. And the other one's like, this situation is untenable. Even if we get out of here, we'll be no better off than when. And then Rook puts her wrist up against the guy's throat and like raise her fist like she's gonna punch him. And she's like, if you're not careful, it will get worse for you. She returns to Maul's side. He's like, perhaps it is time that one is dealt with. And she's like, my lord, since you claimed the throne of Mandalore, I have followed you without question. He's like, but some of the commandos, this is a price for their loyalty, and that cost is rising. Maul is like, this is a momentary obstacle. Every move we make is in accordance with a greater plan. She's like, this apprentice, I fear she is clouding your judgment. And he's like, you've seen her fight? You know what she is capable of? Rook's like, I also see her allegiance. It's to her master. Maul says, allegiances can be severed. And Rook's like, I agree. He's like, so remember that. And she's like, and without prosperity, so can the bonds of mercenaries. Lawson, Pocky, and Devin are outside the station. Devin says that they got patrol sweeping the area. Checkpoints are everywhere. Pocky's like, I'm afraid if your son is in there, it will be no easy task to get him out. Lawson calls Two Boots on the comm. He says the Empire took Riley. He needs to know where he is. Two Boots is like silent. And so Lawson sighs. He's like, hey, answer me. He's like, what did they do to my son? Two Boots turns off the comm, just as like Blake is about to walk by. So Lawson tries calling back, right away. Two Boots puts the comm like in this like box case and shoves it like in a corner of his desk. Riley's sitting in a cell. The new Inquisitor dude, he stands next to Merrick, the other guy. Maul and his gang arrive. And Maul, I think he like senses that they're there. Stormtroopers are there. They're like jumping out. Spy bot starts shooting. Maul blocks the lasers. Rook has to, or she yells that like push to the ship. Vario barely makes it like under his big metal door. He's like, wait for me. The shuttle with like the two Inquisitors arrive and they jump out. So it's like 2-on-1. They move away from somebody move away from the rest of the fight. So you got the main guys was fighting stormtroopers, and then there's Maul and the two like Inquisitors. So the others continue shooting at the stormtroopers. They're moving towards the ship. Vario's with them. He doesn't make it to the shuttle before like the door closes. So the three Mandos that were grumbling about their credits, they got in the ship. They started up, and he's like, "So long, Lady Cast," and she's like, "Kebris, you slime." But then it's karma because the ship gets hit by missiles from like 3 incoming shuttles, so they're gone. Stormtroopers radio to surrender or die. Vario's like running back towards the gang. He's like trying to duck under all the lasers. Maul grunts in frustrations against the two. New guy like slashes at his thigh and he groans in pain. It's so weird because he's got a metal lower half, but he feels the pain. I don't know how that works. So he like falls down. One of his men comes. I don't know his name. He's got like the big cannon. One of the brothers. He shoves the new Inquisitor aside because he's standing over like he's going to strike down at Maul. And then he's about to shoot the other Merrick with his cannon, but then zoom, he gets a lightsaber through his back. Maul like grits his teeth in anger, and the guy's brother sees him, like gets like tossed. They're like outside of the town now. You know, there's like all these like rock formation or whatever. So he gets like tossed over like a cliff, and he's like, "Brother!" The Mandos say that they need to fall back. Maul he's getting like forced back too. He leaps down to this like lower level, and it's like sort of like some caves or something. I don't know. The two follow him. He strikes that one, but then he gets kicked back, and it's like a painful kick to like his midsection, whatever. Merrick, the first Inquisitor, he starts spinning his saber because they think it's so cool. Maul's thigh is like sparking, and he's injured. And then he hooks his lightsaber to his belt. He slowly raises his hands, and Merrick's like, "There is no surrender. The Emperor wants you dead." And Maul's like panting, trying to catch his breath. But he responds. He's like, "Likewise." His hands are still raised, and he starts pulling down the cliffside. Big boulders fall, and then they like retreat. But it's like, wait, did Maul get buried? And that's where episode 7 ends. And that, as I say, is a good cliffhanger, because then 4 seconds later, you find out what happened. They play back the scene. They start up, but we'll talk about that next week. And what I like about this is, Maul's been kicking a lot of butt throughout the series, but this one, he's taken a beating because he's fighting 2 Inquisitors. I appreciate that they're not making this super like unstoppable badass, that he's actually, barely struggling to hang on, and he's injured. So I think that's good. So that's interesting. So that is episode 7. So now I am behind on the show as well, but we will catch up soon. Okay, and now the movie feature. We're doing this again, sort of. We're going back in time, but this time we're going to 2008. Speed Racer. This is the movie directed by the Wachowskis. I love Speed Racer so much. I got so emotional watching this. I love this movie. I just have so much affection for Speed Racer. Just watching as a kid, watching with my brother, when I was in my teens, and I would kind of babysit the niece of girlfriend, and who was like actually like my kind of boss's like stepdaughter and everything like that. One day a week, and we would watch like old episodes, and she loves Speed Racer, and then my daughter, she loves Speed Racer and everything like that. So I just had a strong affection for that, and this movie is it's such a weird movie. I feel it is so incredibly underrated. It's a bizarre movie. It's just, I can see why people didn't like it. It's very out of reality. It's not, it has its own physics. I mean, the way the cars move and slide around and spin around and stuff like that, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, whatever, but it's just, it's its own thing. And you have to look at it, and the visuals are just so friggin' amazing. I always joked, because it's finally coming out on Blu-ray, and this month, May, let's see, when is it? May 19th. I always joke for the longest time, I was like, they can't release Speed Racer in 4K. I was like, because if they did, our eyeballs would melt from all the glorious imagery. It would be too much. But it's finally coming. Now, it played recently, just like limitedly, and I think it was in IMAX, and I was like, geez, I can't go to this. I don't have the time with everything that I'm doing, and it's not going to happen. And then the local theaters, I can have it. I'm like, holy crap, because they had Fight Club the week before. They had the 4K remaster. I'm like, they're doing the same thing. I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to see it in the theater. And it turns out, as I mentioned, there's nothing else that opened up this week. I'm curious about Devil Wears Prada, but I never saw the first one. So it's like, and it's not a quote unquote podcast movie, so it didn't make sense for me to watch that. I still I should I'm curious about Animal Farm. Like, who is this movie for? I don't know who it's for. I haven't watched the trailer. I don't have time to watch it. I'm curious. I should watch it. So I was like, there's nothing coming out this week. Okay, this is a big risk, I think, because I don't know if people are going to want to hear me talk about Speed Racer now for a movie that came out like almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, right? 2008. Yeah, it's just crazy. Time flies. But I was like, oh, but if it's 4K, I can talk about that. Now here's the problem. I'm not sure if it was the quote unquote 4K. It's not the IMAX experience, and I think that's what they're calling it. But when I checked in on one of those app things or whatever, it listed the IMAX experience when you checked into the theater, but it wasn't. Now, it looked amazing because at the theater, they use like laser projectors and whatever, they got all different sorts, and it looks good, it sounds good and everything like that. So even if it wasn't like a remastered version, it still looks amazing because the movie friggin' looked amazing to begin with. And you're seeing it on a big screen. It's such a glorious movie. And so that's what we're talking about. So that is, and I still debate about this. I mean, I guess, I look at the numbers and see how many people listen to this, but I feel like this movie just really stands the test of time. And it is such a amazing thing. When I saw it, it wasn't in like one of the big theaters. It was in a smaller theater, but it was pretty. There was probably more people watching this movie than sometimes when I see like a preview night movie. And so anyways, one thing I want to say. So I think this was like part of the flashback, cinema or flashback, whatever they call it, where they'll show like an older movie, which is cool when they do that. So I don't know if this was the 4K, but again, it still looked good. There's a lot of people in the theater, and as I'm watching it, usually when I watch, I try to ignore everyone else, around there. Sometimes people are kind of talking or coughing or whatever, but I started becoming more aware of them as I'm hearing people laugh or whatever, and chuckle at different parts, and it's because this is such a like feel good movie. It's a good family movie. There's only one part where Sprite flips off the evil scumbag off, but there's no profanity. It's just, and the visuals. It's very welcoming. I think there's a lot of bright colors, of primary colors, and just everything. So I think the younger whatever viewers would like that. Again, it's such a weird experience when you look at like just the backgrounds and everything. It's not quite, it reminds me a little, but not exactly like, Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands when, driving into suburbia and you look at all these houses, everything's just so weird and everything. It's kind of like that, but totally different. I mean, it's on a different level, totally separate. And you just see everything, and they have such an immense respect for the original anime. And with the animes, what do they call them? Like the speed lines, just a lot of stuff in the back. They like include this in live action, and they just mix all this together. It's just crazy, just seeing all of this. And you got the cast. Emile Hirsch. He's great at Speed Racer. I love when it starts off. You see him in the locker room, and he's sitting there, back to us. He's like kind of tapping his foot, whatever, and he's wearing the red socks. I love just a tiny detail like that, because when you watch, if I'm assuming you've seen the opening where you see when he revs on the gas pedal, he's wearing the red socks. Speed Racer wears red socks, and I love that they incorporate that here. So he's just great. Christina Ricci, she was good as Trixie. Ariel Winter, you probably know her from Modern Family. She played young Trixie. John Goodman is great as Pops. I mean, he's such a good Pops. We got Susan Sarandon plays Mom Racer. And then Racer X, we got two different Racer X. We have Scott Porter, who what was his name? Streak from Friday Night Lights. He's been in other stuff too. And then we have Matthew Fox, who plays older Rex Racer. So Matthew Fox, Party of Five. And that's funny that I start with that. Party of Five, Lost, you know who he is. So we have those. And the other thing that I love is when during the first big race, Peter Fernandez is like one of the announcers. And Corrine Orr, who voiced Trixie, she was an announcer. But Pete Fernandez was the voice of Speed Racer. And I'm pretty sure, I should know this, I think he was the voice of Speed and Racer X. It was like the weird thing. Now, I'm sure I've told this story before. Oh, man, I hate this. So Peter Fernandez is no longer with us. He's passed away. I think it was 2010. I could be wrong about that. And I don't want to look it up because... again, disingenuine, whatever, I'm going off the top of my head with this. But back at Whiskey Media, when, the early days of Anime Vice, I was, helping out. I was running Comic Vine, right? And I was doing some stuff on Anime Vice as well, because, I had an appreciation for anime, not caught up on the current, whatever, modern stuff, but, my stuff for especially Speed Racer and Gatchaman, Battle of Planets, I just love that. And, I watched some other stuff here and there and, whatever. But I don't know how the heck did this happen? I got a phone interview with Peter Fernandez. Oh my gosh. It was just so amazing. I got to, and as I'm talking to him, he, cause he also did the voice of Cruncher Block. We're like, what? And he actually did some, he kind of changed his voice a little bit and we're talking all this stuff. And then when we're done, I made a rookie mistake. I didn't press record. I didn't, it was like I was record. It's like one of those. It was like this other digital recorder, or whatever. But it's like one of those where you have to hit record twice. So you when you first hit it, it's like it's on pause, and you have to hit it again. And I was just like so excited and just so into this conversation. I didn't really check it, whatever, and I didn't know. So I don't have the audio, which is such a bummer because not that I would necessarily do anything with it. I would probably try to play it again. I don't even know if anyone would want to hear that. But it's just like for my sake, like I got to talk to Speed Racer on the phone and it's just crazy. So I every time I watch a movie and I see him there and, they don't make a huge big deal. It's kind of like the Stan Lee cameos in the Marvel movies. That's how I see it. So yeah, you got this movie and like I say, I got so emotional, especially towards the end, which I'll spoil it and I'll talk about that. But there's just so many things that they do that's amazing because Speed is just like such like a wholesome character, and and you just see like the story of it because the whole family's into racing. We see Speed as a kid. He's like obsessed with it because his older brother Rex is this amazing racer. Pops builds the cars and everything like that. And, he wants to be like his brother and all this stuff like that. And then it's just the thing, then Racer X dies and, he's heartbroken. And just that moment when he's in tears, it's like, you see young Speed and it's like, it's tragic. And, there's one point in the race where Rex has the record on the race, and Speed is coming close. And they kind of do this thing where it's like he's racing against Rex. You see kind of like a ghost image of, I think it was a Mach 4 or another car. And, so he's going side by side. And it's like, is he going to beat Rex's record? And, that's like this huge, huge thing. So Speed is just, he's on his way to become, a great racer and everything like that. And then eventually, and here's the thing, there's like, as I'm watching the movie, I was like, I got to talk about this. And I know that I'm going to forget, there's things I'm going to forget to talk about and I'm going to like kick myself after. But you got basically Speed is kind of recruited by this big time racer, he's multi-millionaire, whatever. He's got this big racing company, and he, flies the family out, crazy jet. And again, we got the crazy city and aircrafts and all this stuff like that. And when you see this big corporation, like all the factory, all this stuff they're doing, it's just like so insane and it's so absurd. But that is the glory of the movie. It is not set in reality. And, so this evil guy, he's going on about, all this Royalton. And he's played by what's it, Roger Allman. Well, what else has he done? Because he must have done other stuff. Because let's see, he was in V for Vendetta, Speed Racer, Iron Lady. Let's see, I'm trying to say other stuff. Tetris. Was he not? What else was he in? Because this guy, I know I've seen him in other stuff. He's been in a bunch of TV stuff. There's got to be something that he's done that I'm just like not thinking about. But he's Azazel in The Sandman. So anyways, he's like such a great, he's got this voice and all this stuff, and he's just trying to schmooze over Speed Racer and all this stuff, like what he can do. And then, what it comes down to, the moment when Speed like turns him down, man, he like just turns on him, and he's just such an evil, he's just such a good like bad guy, and he's gonna ruin the Racer family and all this stuff, and it's just just all that is just amazing. And this is something where I feel like I should have had an agenda, like what I want to talk about, because I don't know how if this makes sense. I'm just like jumping all over the place because I'm just so excited about just this movie. And again, I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning, but I know I did a secret podcast about this like years back, like way back. I talked about it, but it was a while ago, so I don't even remember what I said, and I don't know. It would be curious. I'm not going to do it because I don't have the time and I don't want to hear it. But it would be interesting to go back and listen. Like, what did I say back then compared to what I say now? Am I like highlighting the same things, or am I highlighting different things or whatever? Because the things I still love. And as I'm watching this, again, jumping all over, I forgot what I was going to say, but I just cut myself off. But as I'm watching this, because I always say my absolute favorite, my all-time favorite movie is Back to the Future. And when I say that, obviously I've talked about it so many times, especially on Patreon. But it's like my feel-good movie. I love it, and there's everything about it. And obviously there's a nostalgia thing in there. I am not saying it is the best movie ever made, that it is like the ultimate number, whatever. I'm not like going to go into like hoity-toityness or whatever, writing or direction or whatever, this or that. But no, I just love that movie. I have to say, Speed Racer, it's definitely up there in my top 5. It's got to be up there. I mean, because as I watch this again, I was like, I love this movie so much, and it's just, I will say, as much as I love Speed Racer, it's not absolutely perfect. But they do such a dang good job. I mean, it is close to that. There's a couple little things that I'm not super crazy. Like, I don't like the Mach 6 at the end of the movie. It's just because it's a Mach 5 or nothing. It's just the original Mach 5 is just so... MC Hammer, you can't touch this. I don't know why MC Hammer came to my head. But there's just little things. And, the car physics in the movie is kind of weird, the way they're sliding and everything, but that's just what it is. And I think in the comment, or like the behind the scenes stuff, I think they talk about like the car fighting, the way they kind of fight each other. And I think they refer to it as car fu, like the way they're kind of fighting. And I mean, you have this weird thing, and if you're reading the current Speed Racer comic by David Pepose, there's a lot of it where it's like you can be violent, you can do stuff. Now in the movie, and in that, it's not like anything goes, but there are some some dangers and everything like that. So the other thing that I would say, so I mentioned the Peter Fernandez, and again I'm jumping all over the place. I love that they have other little things. You have Cruncher Block, he's in here, and you kind of have the Mammoth car. And I'm going to admit, I don't know if I've ever admitted it, but when I first saw the movie, I didn't quite realize that was the Mammoth car. If you've seen the Mammoth car episode of the original Speed Racer, the Mammoth car it's like this. It's almost like this big. It's not quite a train, it has wheels, but it's just like super duper long. There's so many things. It almost feels like it goes on forever. And because there's this race with the Mammoth car, and they're like, how is this thing going to win the race, and that's because they got dirty tricks up their sleeves. But we basically had the mammoth car here, but instead of being like so many cars, I think it was only like kind of like 2 cars or whatever, compartments in that. So, we have that. We have the GRX. So we've seen the GRX in the current, the ongoing Speed Racer comic. But the GRX, I love that they mention it here. It's a little toned down. The GRX is like this insane engine. It goes so fast, it will drive a racer insane. You can't drive it. And, they lose their mind. It's too intense. It's too much. So they got the GRX in here. And just the little things, the Inspector Detector. I love that they gave him a little goatee. Inspector Detector, his like goatee beard in the anime, it always kind of confused me because it would always kind of go off to the side. And if he's like looking to the left, it's going that way. He's looking to the right, it's going that way. So it's like, how does that work? Because when he's like, you're looking at him straight on, it's usually off to one, whatever. So Inspector Detector, he was good. Who played Inspector Detector? Inspector Detector was Benjamin Benno Furman, German film actor. He was in The North Face, Jericho. He appeared in Darkness. Wait, he was he was the voice of Puss in Boots and Shrek, but in the German dubbing. So he was good in here. And so I love the fact that they got Inspector Detector. Now let's talk about Racer X. It's like, who's cooler, Speed Racer or Racer X? That's a tough one, because Speed Racer is a little on the light side sometimes, and Racer X is just, he's just complete badass. Now they did an interesting thing here. They reversed the colors. Racer X always wore a white suit with a black mask and that, but here he's like basically all in black, and so they kind of changed that a little bit, and. He's got the shooting star, Racer X's car. That's so cool as well, and just a sound with the engines in this movie. It's just it's so cool. Now, spoiler. I mean, again, if you know anything about Speed Racer, you know who Racer X is. Racer X. And if you ever watch the anime, every single time they show Racer X for the first time, Racer X, who is secretly Speed Racer's older brother Rex, who ran away from home and the world think is dead or whatever. So basically, everyone thinks Rex is dead. Now, there's been some slightly different versions of stuff. Like whenever everyone thinks that Racer X is like this horrible driver, like he's this bad guy. Because like every time he's in a race, there's a lot of deaths. People die, and they attribute it to him, that he's just a reckless driver. But in different telling, because there's a Wildstorm comic, and I don't. It's been a while since I've watched the animes, those episodes with him. But he was involved with some stuff, and he was kind of like a secret agent type of thing. And so basically the reason there are so many deaths is because people were like taking shots at him. And he was kind of using the races as like his cover. So it's like, oh, there's a race in the Congo. I don't know why I said the Congo, but I'm trying to think of something. And Rex Racer, Secret Agent Rex Racer, or Secret Agent Racer X, whoever, has to go there on another mission so he can use the race as a cover. But it can only carry so much weight, right? If all of a sudden like, oh, this scheme was just foiled, and Racer X happened to be here too. There happened to be a race in town or whatever. But you have all this. So basically what it comes down to, I'm just going to jump to this part. This is what just gets me so emotional. And because throughout the anime, there's a lot of times where Speed is kind of like, why is Racer X helping me? What's because no one knows who he is, and they've had a lot of run-ins, and because there's always like a lot of bad guys, and Racer X is always there to help out and stuff like that. So Speed has always kind of wondered and everything, but it's like, it's kind of crazy. Like, why would you think this is your brother when your brother is supposed to be dead and everything? Now, they do an interesting thing in the movie where, they're played by 2 completely different actors who don't look anything alike. And so spoiler for the end of the movie, when Speed wins the race, right? He's got to win. Inspector Detective's like, the family is about to go out on the stage for podium. He's like, do you want to go down there? Because, Inspector Detective knows the secret. And, Rex is like, it's like, no. And then Inspector Detective's like, do you ever regret, your decision? And about, faking his death, because we see it, because he had to fake his death, because, there's a lot of corruption in the racing industry and whatever, just a world. And, he was ruffling some feathers and doing stuff. And then, does he join the other agency, whatever, there's some stuff. So basically, if people found out that he was Rex Racer, that Rex Racer was doing all this stuff, they're going to go after his family. And, so they're going to be, in danger or anything like that. So it's like, okay, I have to erase my identity. I can't have any ties to my past. Otherwise, they're not going to be safe. They're going to be targets and everything like that. So when Inspector Detective asks him if he has any regrets, like, does he regret his decision, whatever he did? And then we see like flashbacks. Like, we see him like, at the race when he faked his death, and then going under surgery, because he got reconstructive surgery. That's how they explain it. Because in the movie, jumping back a little bit, there's a part where Speed's like, "Are you my brother Rex?" And then he's like, he takes off his mask. He's like, "Sorry, kid," because it's like he's like, "You're not him." So in the movie, he reveals himself. So he's like, "No, look at this face. This is not your brother." So, he went all this reconstructive surgery, so he looks nothing like he would look even, a few years later and all that. And, we see, Rex hiding behind a tree at the funeral. We see, all this other stuff. And then he's like, if he made a mistake, whatever, he's just going to have to live with it. And when I see that, it's I don't know why, because, I just know the story so well. Who Rex is and all that stuff, but it's so like heartbreaking, and I teared up with that he's made this huge sacrifice. He wants to be with his family, but he can't because it will put them in danger. And it's also crazy the fact that he probably he doesn't even know who Spritle is, because he quote unquote left home before Spritle was probably born, and so it's so sad that he had to make this huge sacrifice to try to make the world a better place or whatever, save whoever, and to keep his family safe. So that's just really sad. Now, speaking of Racer X, I just thought about this other part where I got to talk about it, and I must have mentioned this the last time I talked about it. But there's a part where they're at a race, and a ninja's attacking, going to try to take them out, and they try attacking Racer X in his room. So, he's just like sleeping in his boxers or whatever. Doesn't have his mask on. So they're fighting, it starts out in the dark. So he grabs like a scarf or sheet or shirt or something like that. He wraps it around his face, but he wraps it around his lower face. And so he's fighting. So you just see like his eyes, the upper part of his head. Now this is the insane part, because Racer X, he wears a mask all the time. You only see like his jaw, like the bottom part of his face. And now here, he's hiding the bottom part of his face, which everyone has seen. There's got to be pictures of it, whatever. And he's like revealing the top of his face. Now, granted, it's dark, it's night, they're in the middle of a fight. There's no cameras, no one's taking pictures, but it's I don't know why, it just seems so absurd that he's covering the bottom of his face when that is the part that's normally exposed, and now you're letting everyone see at the top. But that's fine. And then the ninjas, there's a huge fight, and that's the other thing. I appreciate the fight, because that's always everyone knows kung fu or whatever in the anime, and I love that in this movie everyone can fight except for Sparky. Where Sparky's like a horrible like fighter, like he can't fight, and I love that like Pops is is like he's a wrestler in here, and he's just this big dude, and one of my favorite parts. I remember my daughter cracked up the first time she saw it. I don't know if she thinks it's funny as much, whatever. But there's a part after the aftermath of the fight with the ninja, and I forget if it was Mom or Trixie. I think it was Mom. She's like, "Is that a ninja?" And Pop's like, "More like a nanja." And it's so stupid. I don't know why I think it's so funny. People laughed in the theater, and. I have to say, I kind of got more of appreciation for Spritle, maybe because I'm older. But in the movie, Sprite's always been annoying because, he's always sneaking in the back of the car. And, when Speed and Trixie were going to make out in the car, he's like, ugh, he like interrupted their kiss, ruined the mood. It's like, darn you, Spritle. But just seeing people like appreciate Spritle and his antics, him and Chim Chim is just Chim Chim, is great, and it's the whole thing. It's very wholesome and very just fun and exciting and just everything. I think it's kind of hilarious that they threw in. It's like, well, a lot of these cars are blowing up. Are we? And do you watch the opening of the show, you see there's this one point car smashes next to Speed Racer, car goes flying off the track, and then there's a big explosion. It's like, okay, that dude just died in the opening credits of this show. That is crazy. This is not a kids show necessarily. It's an anime, whatever. And I think the anime original, I think it was like in the late 60s or whatever. So, again, before my time, but it's so good. So what do they do to explain it? Like, cars are going to crash, cars are going to blow up and stuff like that. So in this other world, weird dimension place, when the cars are getting to a certain point, when they're going to get smashed or whatever, the cockpits or the driver's compartment fills up. Basically, you get put in this big giant bubble, whatever, and then you just like bounce away. Or there's this other point, car, I don't want to say it, another character from the anime, that when their car goes off a cliff, you see he's in a parachute. So it's like, I like these little things where it's like, okay, maybe it's not as violent as it seems. That's fine. It's silly, but that's okay, because that makes it. Because I think the movie, I'm pretty sure, is the movie just like PG, right? Let's see, because I have the Wikipedia page open. It doesn't say the rating on here. Usually, I'm probably just not seeing it. That's weird, because usually they have it in the little box thing. I will say the budget was $120 million, but the box office was $93.9 million. Yeah, and that what I think it is, it goes back to like what I said before. The movie is very underrated. It was very misunderstood, and I think the really weird physics that probably threw some people off. And while I feel like people know, a portion of people know who Speed Racer is, I don't think everyone knew who Speed Racer was. And so there's going to be a lot of people like, what is this? And what is going on? So that's the unfortunate thing. It has sort of become like a cult classic. I know there's a lot. I mean, the fact that, you got this movie playing and, there's all these people going to see it. And, now they're releasing it, on 4K. It's going to be on Steelbook, and, people are excited about it. So I just think it was misunderstood. It wasn't really appreciated. And it's such a bummer, because from the stuff that you read and hear about, the Wachowskis wanted to do a sequel. And a lot of the cast, they were eager for that too. And supposedly they had these ideas and stuff happen. It never happened. And it's a bummer. It pisses me off, because I would have loved to have seen more. Because I just, it's like, wait, are they? I feel like there was talk of doing a live action, like a Speed Racer show. And I don't know if J.J. Abrams was involved with that, and I don't even know if it's going to happen, because I feel like it's been a while since that's been, and I haven't heard anything. And I don't think it was going to be an Apple show. That would be, oh man, that would be great. So I hope that there is something. And now I'm like tempted as I'm sitting here. It's like, looking down at my laptop. Should I try to do a quick Google search and see, is there any, plans for anything? All right, so I did it. I just looked. I just said, will there be another live action Speed Racer? I just left it vague like that. And what the AI overview says, yes, a new live action Speed Racer series is in development at Apple TV Plus. Okay, so I was right. From executive producer J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot, the project has received a series order and is expected to be a modern take on a classic anime series. So it's being produced by Warner Brothers Television, Bad Robot. Showrunners Ron Fitzgerald, Hiram Martinez are set to write and serve as co-showrunners. The series will follow Adventure Speed and his team, including Trixie, Pops Racer, and Chim Chim, who drives a Mach 5. This is no indication this is a sequel to 2008 Wachowski film, but rather new adaptation. And that's it. There is like nothing else that is said about this. So I hope they do. And if they do, I hope it's done well. Because I'll be so disillusioned if it's like a piece of crap. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything more to say about this. I mean, I just love this movie so much, and again, a lot of it is a nostalgia, and it's crazy. I will say that that the car physics sometimes it's a tiny turnoff for me, the way it just moves around, because I feel like we don't get to really see the Mach 5 in as much action. We see the car jacks, so we see it jump, we see the car treads, we see the canopy, so we get the buzz saws, right? But I feel like there was, and I don't know, and maybe if it was more of a traditional, just racing type thing, maybe that wouldn't be as exciting. I'm not saying race stuff isn't exciting, because obviously, everyone's all about F1, and we got the F1 the movie. And, so you could do stuff like that, but, it's always been a little bit more. But just, and just throwing like Racer X and, being a secret agent and, just add stuff like that. And then, there's so many like colorful, evil characters. There's so much that you can do. But yeah. How many times have I said I love this movie? And, I should probably just stop now, because this is just me saying the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I don't know what it is about it. I appreciate it so much. I love it. And I hope you do too. But just the visuals, oh my gosh, this thing. It's such a bummer that people didn't like it, that they couldn't appreciate it. It's just so amazing. Just like, how did they do that? It's just, and it's almost like, maybe they went too far. Maybe it was too much visuals for people. They couldn't handle it. Maybe, it was very over the top, but that was the glory of it. It wasn't meant. They weren't trying to be grounded in reality. So that's just how it goes. But it's a great thing. So I hope, if you haven't watched it, I hope you watch it. And if you have, then you're my people, because this is such a good thing. And I know there's, you got the theme. I haven't even talked about the theme music, and Michael Giacomo, right? He did the music. He also did the music for Lost, and he's the one that he directed Werewolf by Night, and he's done music for the Marvel movies and that. So this is a good thing. So I love Speed Racer. Yeah, and it's definitely my top. Is it my second favorite movie of all time? I don't know about that, but it's definitely up there. I need to sit down and think about it if I want to commit that, but it just might be. And I'll say you're my favorite audience. Right. So thank you for listening. So big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I've been doing a lot of like the classic Silver Age DC Comics, just a weird, absurd, crazy covers, Superman, Batman, weird things happening, and then they explain it, and somehow it makes sense. Probably doing another Off of Mind at some point if I can think of something. I don't want to force it, but I enjoy doing those, and I want to mix it up, not just do the comic look backs. Let me know if there's anything you would like me to talk about, and I will happily give it heavy consideration. But I don't want no promises in case you want to talk about how flowers bloom and the effects of whatever. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 4. And that's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. Okay, so what is happening next week? So we got looks like the final episode of Monarch, the final episode of Daredevil, and then we're gonna have more Star Wars. I got to figure out what's gonna happen after that. We'll worry. That's time to worry about that later. As far as a movie feature, I was thinking of doing Billie Eilish Hit Me Hard and Soft, the tour live in 3D, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to. I don't mind Billie Eilish. Sometimes some of the things she says, I'm just like, really? I don't know about that. Like when, she complains about, artists are, they're wasting resources. They're putting out so many variant, covers of vinyls or whatever. And it's like, have you not seen how many different versions of your own stuff that you're putting out? What do you talk? Whatever. And I don't heavily listen to her music. She's got some decent stuff. I don't need to see a concert movie based on her. I watched the Apple TV documentary on her. It was interesting. I enjoyed it, but yeah. So I'm not going to watch that. And I don't care what James Cameron says, that the stuff that's never been done. I'm not going to watch that. So what are we going to have then? I think what it's going to be is Mortal Kombat 2. Wait, did I see Mortal Kombat 1? I must have. Was there a Mortal Kombat 1 live action movie? I think there was. Did I watch it? I'm getting a little confused because, there's been the animated movies that I used to watch more of those when Warner Brother Home Video used to send them to me, which they no longer do, so I don't watch them anymore. And I don't even know if Warner Brothers Home Video is even a thing anymore. Did they go away? I don't know. But we'll probably do, it'll probably be Mortal Kombat 2 next week. And then the following week, hopefully, is going to be Obsession. I really want to, I'm curious to see that. But we'll see. So that's going to be it for this week. I hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you are a fan of Speed Racer. I hope you can appreciate it for what it is and have an open mind enough to enjoy it. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Hope you're doing fun things. And I hope you remember to be good to each other.